All right, so here we are. We're going to start at the 3 minute mark of this live stream right now. So let's hit this on the timestamps 3 minutes, and it will be start of the stream. All right, so here we are in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So here we go. This is the beginning of the stream. We're going to talk more about the Raja Jackson scenario that is going on right now because, yes, there's a hot topic debate going on right now online of whether this was justifiable in the part of Rampage Jackson Jr., Raja Jackson. Okay, now there's a lot of elements to consider into this whole entire topic. Number one, it's never correct to hurt someone unprovoked, right? Let me be very clear about that before you try to box me into a certain position of a certain narrative, right? It's never okay to hurt somebody. However, you also got to understand there's a racist element that's going on with this story, and I think there's a lot of people that are in denial about it. Let's be honest about this, right? We can draw up the conclusion that Sean Strickland did the same exact thing. The only difference is that Sean Strickland made somebody sign a waiver, which everybody does at a gym, as to say that, hey, you know what? If you're going to get hurt or if you're going to DIE, get unalived during the process of this training session, it is not your fault. Conor McGregor says the B fatigue is real. I don't want to say it out loud. You guys can read it, but it's not against the policy of YouTube to say that. But it might be if I was to read it out loud. Now, you guys can read that, but that is what Conor McGregor or the fake Conor McGregor has just said on the comment section below right now. Is it that? Is it really that, though? Is it because of the fact that he's a black kid that somehow this is indicative of the fact that he did what he did? And I'm here to tell you that maybe if he was a rich white kid, it would not have the same backlash, okay? And here's the thing, right? Reasonable-minded people are going to backlash regardless of what is wrong and what is wrong and what is what is right. They're going to have a natural backlash. However, there are people out there that are sort of going way too hard at Raja Jackson based on the fact that he is, well, the obvious, right? Pavan V says, hi, bro. Hey, how are you, man? Let me know what part of the world you are from, my man. And write on the comment section below what part of the world you are from and how you came across my page. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. The N Hebrew says attempted murder. Attempted murderer. Okay, no, he says attempted murder. Sorry. Okay, Toxic Gameplay says Raja was doing his ground and pound, bro. It was ass. Kyrie's ground and pound is way better. Oh, man, please don't put me into this because I didn't ground and pound anybody that didn't ask for it, okay? Please don't implicate me into these, particular cases. But I see what you're saying, though. All sentiments are all the same. Chicken pancake, shout out to you, Skippity. What does that mean? What does that mean exactly? So, listen, guys. Understand there's an inherent bias that is going on here based on the fact of what race Raja is. Let's just be honest about it. He's going to flee the country. You know what? There has been no arrest as of yet. Obviously, you guys see that is what I had written on the thumbnail. I'm sorry, not the thumbnail. The description and the title, right? So we don't know if that is what he's done yet, but you know what? And I'm going to mark your comment. I'm going to pin your comment because that's a very important notion to think about, right? Right now he's not arrested. Right now there hasn't been any charges filed, but it is a possibility. A Chicken Pancake says, what is this stream about? Well, this stream is about mixed martial arts. It's about geopolitics. It's about the things that are going on around the world. And it is also about the politics that go inside California. Now, guess what? This particular story, believe it or not, encompasses all of that. we're talking about California because it happened in California, and then the type of rules and regulations and the laws that we have here that would probably be a little bit more liberal than others, right? And then the other side of this is MMA. Obviously, it involves a legendary MMA fighter, a son of an MMA fighter. So there's sociology involved, there's psychology involved, because the psychology of this is that Raja just had enough. Plain and simple, he had enough. He felt like he was going to somehow just, I don't know, like constantly take all the barrage of hate, all the barrage of trolling and this, that, and the other. At the same time, right, if you guys are familiar with the case of Sin City Vinny, right, he's a Las Vegas podcaster, influencer, you know, whatever you want to call him. He got into some beef with somebody from Arizona, black dude, right? So Sin City Manny is a Mexican guy from Las Vegas, gets into this beef with this black dude from Arizona, and then the dude shows up in Las Vegas, shoots him right in front of everybody in some kind of landmark hotel. I forgot, I think the Bellagio it was. So he shot him in front of everybody. So all over a YouTube beef. So you know what? Sometimes, man, you got to understand that, listen, if this is the type of world that is not for you in terms of people trolling you, going after you, this and that, maybe you should just not be in the public sphere. Now, Raja Jackson didn't have to be in the public sphere. He could have just lived his life as Rampage's kid, live off of that, maybe go to college, but you know, he decided to go into MMA, and with that comes a lot of attention because you are a son of an MMA legend. So naturally, you're going to be targets for trolls, and you got to understand that. Okay, you're not a normal black kid like anybody that you've probably went to high school with who was in Compton or Long Beach or Stockton or Sacramento or this, that, and the other, whatever part of California or school you went to here, right? So that's really what it comes down to. Toxic Gameplay's prosecutor's office is closed on the weekends. That's a very good point, my man. Conor McGregor says he's definitely going to prison. Stu should sue the F out of him, and he can extract at least $2 million. That's true. We did talk about that yesterday, and that is the certain amount of number that we had talked about that could be a potential. A Chicken Panic says, gang, I'm too young for this. Well, we'll explain why you're too young for this, right? I mean, obviously, I'm 40 years old, and here I am covering a 25-year-old man who's a son of an MMA legend, and I don't think it's really too young for anybody, to be quite honest with you. I mean, because it can happen to anybody at any time. You can find yourself at any legal problems or any legal situations at any given moment, and yeah, so something to think about. I think problems are ageless. Problems are something that has no indication of anyone's race or anything like that. But, you know, of course, otherwise, other people in the white nationalist side would say otherwise. But on any given event, yes, so this right here has a lot of racism involved. I mean, you just look at all the comments that people are saying about Raja, right? You have somebody like MMA Guru who says, calls him an animal, or calls him, you know, this, that, and the other, or calls him all types of names, right? Uninvolved, unevolved, or all these racial undertones that a lot of people are throwing around. So Toxic Gameplay says, people thought Raja crashed out and looked immature. They said they would understand if he was 17, but he's 25. Okay, I mean, you know what? I don't think, listen, here's something you guys got to understand about California culture, right? And this is, I'm going to segue this into a side story because this is really important to understand about the culture in California, and this may relate to Raja in some kind of way. He is a California native. Obviously, Rampage is from Memphis. He moved out to California and became a California resident, very similar to your old boy right here, right? I was a New Jersey guy, and then I came out to California and resided here ever since. So this is what I know about California culture, right? There are people out here who are 60 years old still banging Crip and Blood. Okay, now obviously this may not relate to Raja in some kind of way, but it kind of gives you an understanding and an emphasis that there is no age limits in California when it comes to certain activities. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm going at with that. When I first came to Stockton, California, back in 2006, I had an OG black homie that was chilling with me outside, you know, in the streets, right? You know how it is. Everybody's always just hanging out in the corner or this and that, you know. And this was in the north side of Stockton. So, you know, the black homie, right? His wife comes outside. There's a group of these people that are outside with us, right? Mostly, you know, young kids and you know, teenagers. Some are in their early 20s. And so one of the teenagers happens to be a female, right? So obviously, the wife out of nowhere, you know, gets jealous of that and says something to him. But it's not so much of the jealousy that is part of the story. It's the fact that the wife said to this OG homie, hey, listen, you know what? I don't know why you're out here hanging out with kids or this and that. At the time, I was like in my early 20s, just got out of New Jersey, out of the military, and back into Stockton and living in Stockton with my cousin. And so I didn't really understand the politics of things. He says to his wife, he says, hey, listen, this is just Cali out here. We're out here, you know, hanging out. It doesn't really matter of age or this and that. And he's right about that, man. You'll see OGs that are in their 40s or 50s hanging out with the YNs in the streets with absolutely no shame whatsoever, because it's just part of the culture. Now, me, for example, do I go out and do that as a 40-year-old man? Not so much. Do I have homies in the hood? Yeah, but I show up when I'm there, not necessarily to hang out, but maybe to, you know, just say hi, say what's up, be in and out, and that's really all about it. But that's what it is. It really is just a different culture. So when you say that, like, okay, him being 17 versus 25 in the way that he acts, I mean, you got to understand that we are a youth-driven culture in California, right? Meaning that a lot of the OGs won't admit it, but many of them live to try and impress the younger guys. And I don't think I'm really, you know, excluded in that particular instance. Okay, so we got some comments here that I think are interesting to read. Fresh Melon Juice says, Rampage told a story about his son working for him and failed in one matter. Okay. Rampage told Raja to fix the problem pronto, but Raja talked back and Rampage slapped him and they started a fight. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Rampage is a very good parent. And I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for saying this because of the fact that, you know, it's Rampage. He's an MMA legend. How dare you? Yeah, I don't think Rampage is a good parent. Look, man, you want to know what's indicative of the fact that Rampage is not a good parent? He's bringing around girls, flirting with them, messing around with them in front of his sons. Now, what kind of example is that you are trying to set on your son? Look, I understand you're single, you're not married, you're allowed to do what you need to do, but at the same time, you're setting a very bad example for your son in that particular matter. And that's just one instance, right? We're just talking about, you know, the aspect of not keeping your dating life private. And then his son goes and says, oh, well, let me get at that or this and that. I mean, it's just all weird all around, right? N says, Kevin Lee went against him. Brunson went against him. Who went against him? Are you talking about Raja? Are you talking about Kevin Lee and Raja went against, yeah, Kevin Lee and Brunson went against Raja. Let me know if that's what you meant. Fresh Melon Juice says it all starts with the parents. Correct. And I don't think Rampage is a very good parent, right? Like, yeah, again, I'll probably get flack for this. He'll probably say, man, what you talking about? I ain't no good parent. You know, one day if he ever invites me to his, you know, podcast, and then you're going to have Bear. Oh, good Lord, Bear. Oh, my God. He's going to be right there saying, yeah, man, so this is what you said about Rampage. You said that he wasn't a very good parent. I would like to know why. And the next thing you know, he goes and Bryce Mitchell's me in front of Rampage. Oh, my God. Conor McGregor says, do you think bad parenting was a reason for this behavior, or is it trauma, or just how he is? So that's a very good question, Conor McGregor. I'm going to pin that comment right there because it's a very good question, okay? Now, to answer your question, when you are at the age before 7, okay, it is the very critical times of how you shape your kid. From the time that they are 7 to 12, it becomes a little bit harder, but then by the time you're 15, your parenting and what you did before really doesn't matter, because the hormones from that time on is when they are trying to develop who they are. They're trying to develop their personalities. And then by the time they are 21, You literally have no say in anything that they got going on. And says, rotten society is California. Well, there's good sides and there's bad sides of it like any other place, I would assume, right? Marty Miller says, has he been arrested yet? No, Marty. Shout out to Marty Miller, my top moderator here. Yes, no, he hasn't been arrested yet, Marty Miller. So, yeah, that's the reality of the situation right now. Stockton to Diaz brothers. By the way, Ed, here's something I want to tell you about the Stockton, Diaz brothers, right? Everybody in Stockton is gang affiliated. I'm talking about everybody. If you're not, you're stupid. I'm sorry to say. Like, if you live in Stockton, you need to have protection. Otherwise, go join the police force, right? And if you don't want to join the police force, then join a gang. That's the reality of Stockton. The Diaz brothers have never been in a gang. They haven't been Norteños. They weren't Crips. They weren't Bloods. They weren't Sureños. They weren't any of these top 4 California gangs that are existent in our world today, right? And yet, they pull out this image that they are gangster MMA people. They're not. They're just MMA people. And I'll tell you this. I know some of the Asians that put a gun to Nick Diaz's head, right? And Nick Diaz will even vouch for that because he said in an interview, he said, yeah, man, when I was a kid, I had all these Asians. They went and, jumped me, tried to jump me, and then one put pistol with me, this and that, yeah. Whatever his incoherent interviews that he does. But on any regard, yeah, Boars MMA says, hello, how are you, Boars MMA? Shout out to you, my man. Fresh Melon Juice says, Rampage always makes fun of Raja in public. A father should lift up his son, not make fun of him. They are not buddies. You know what, Fresh? I'm going to pin that comment right there, okay? So, okay, that's a very good point by Fresh Melon Juice, right? I'm going to read it again. Rampage always makes fun of his son in public. By the way, that is not something that you do, okay? Under Islamic doctrines, whenever we want to advise somebody, we never do it in a public setting. I think a lot of people like to give scolding towards people to feel like they are the big man of the room. Yeah, look at me. I'm the big man. I'm telling him what to do. It's all ego, right? You got to set your ego aside as a father and know that you can't do that. So, unfortunately, this is one of the main reasons why I think Rampage is a horrible father. Regardless of how many slams you did on Arona in Japan, regardless of the memories that you gave us with the Vanderlei Silva fights, the Chuck Liddell fights, whatever that may be, right? None of that matters because, in reality, you're a great MMA fighter. You're a legendary MMA fighter. Nobody can take that away from you. But as a father, I mean, there's just a lot of mistakes that you make that I don't think is a good idea. Right? Like this is one of them, making fun of him in public, and then you wonder why he lashes out in this kind of way. I tell you what, man, I've known many people who are relatives of others that have done that, and, that kid doesn't turn out, very, he doesn't turn out to be a very pleasant person, and, and rightfully so. John 4:2 says, Corinthians, okay, have repercussions. Corinthians, lock him up. Okay, so he's setting examples. Let's, okay, you know what? Isaiah 6, 1 Corinthians, actions have repercussions. Isaiah 6, Corinthians, lock him up. Okay, Corinthians, make an example of him. Okay, so very interesting. So he's pulling out some Bible verses that sort of deals with these types of things. So, very similar in our Islamic doctrine, how we, sort of have, what do you call it? We have a certain, certain protocols to these things, right? Like you don't go and pretty much humiliate your kid in front of everybody, right? Because that, obviously now you've seen Raja, the way that he reacted to it. He's like, man, I ain't playing around here. I'm going to stand up for myself. Now, where was that rage coming from? Where has all that been pent up from? Toxic Gameplay says, do you think raising your kids up in anger ruins them? Absolutely. It absolutely ruins them. This is a clear example of that. Now, look, Syko Stu should not have done what he did. He got too excited. He should have waited for the promoter. He should have waited for the approval of Raja, right? This wasn't one of those Floyd Mayweather Big Show situations where Big Show said, hey, come on, man, I want you to give it to me real, right? Bare knuckle fisted in my face. Remember that little promo and that little spot that Floyd Mayweather did with the Big Show to promote their upcoming fight in WrestleMania, right? He told them to go punch him. He approved of it. Now, they should have had a conversation like that behind the scenes before any of it was going to happen. It was just fresh. It was right there in the live stream. The cameras were rolling. And so Stu thought that, hey, you know what? Since I'm on camera, I have to be in character. And he thought wrong. But yeah. Corinthian says thuggery has no place anymore. Okay, so Fresh Melon Juice says Rampage is an alcoholic. Is he really? Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, Rampage acts like a child. He definitely does act like a child, right? Like, I think he tries to relive some of his memories in Japan, right? Which is indicative of the fact that, you know, he has a certain preference for a certain type of woman. Not that that's a bad thing, right? It's just that it's kind of indicative of the psychology of where he's at. Like, he believes that he's still in Japan. He believes that he is, you know, the big star of the Big Show and this and that. And, of course, having a podcast with good old Bear. Yeah, Bear, rah, 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 rah. I'm Bear. Yeah, I have a voice like this, and so I sound important in front of everybody because I sound like this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, having a guy like that who I believe is an enabler. Listen, Bear is a stupid-ass enabler of Rampage Jackson, in my humble opinion, right? The only time that Bear has his own mind is when Bryce Mitchell walks in and, oh my God, listen, I don't even want to go there with the Bryce Mitchell thing and Bear, because that really got me so mad, right? That got me so mad when he did Bryce Mitchell like that. Like, how do you treat your own guest to come in there like that? Like, yeah, I feel great. I did this to a top UFC star. I'm Bear, yeah. Man, but Bear, bro. You know what? I want to fight Bear. I want to fight Bear. I think you guys would love that. Oh my God. You guys would love that if I fought Bear. I absolutely think you guys would love it if I fought Bear, and I would absolutely love it. I would talk to him in a ground and pound position while I'm, you know, basically punching him out. You know what I'm saying? I would treat him like Syko Stu and me being the Raja of that situation. But yeah, is Bear called Bear because he's a Jew, Bear Jew? I don't know. I don't know why he's called Bear. You know what? I never really knew of him or heard about him up until he came onto the, you know, Rampage podcast. MP says, free Raja. All right, shout out to you. I'm going to pin that comment, MP. Welcome, MP. Let me know what part of the world you are from, MP. I think this is the first time that I've seen you in here. Slump 4X, shout out to you. Raja went over the line. Okay, Slump 4X, let me tell me what part of the world you are from. You wouldn't happen to be from LA, Slump 4X. Would you let me know if you're from LA? Your name has something that has LA related stuff on it, so I don't know if you're from LA or not, but in any regard, let me know what part of the world you are from, my man. Bilal Sadiq, assalamu alaikum, brother, how are you? Love Rampage, but Raja needs some serious help and some time. TBH, what does TBH mean, by the way? Please explain to me what that means in internet language. But when you mean some time, do you mean he should serve prison time? Slump4 says, why you hating on the Diaz brothers? It's not hate, my man. It's just that, well, let me just say this, right? It's the politics of things, right? I'm down with Team Khabib and Team Eagle. I've met, you know, Khabib's dad. I've talked to Khabib's dad. I've been around their teams before, and they got beef, right? So being a big supporter of Team Khabib and Eagle, that's one. On top of that, the street side of things, the Diaz brothers have gotten into it with some people that I know in Stockton, and we'll just leave it like that, right? But on any regard, you know, whether ops or not, you know, the Diaz brothers are good for Stockton. They put the name up of Stockton. You know, I give them props for that. But other than that, everything is as real as it can be when it comes to that situation. So I hope that explains your question, Slump 4. Marty Miller says, have you ever seen how Rampage treats his fans? No, please elaborate on that, Marty Miller. I don't really know how that is or how that comes about, but yeah, let me know if there's anything significant about that. Wakis, shout out to you, man. Salam alaikum, brothers. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. And Bilal says, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh to all of you guys. Facts on how Rampage treats him fresh. Yes. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Slump 4 says, Diaz brothers still gangsta. Those Asian guys wouldn't be able to do shit in a real fight. Well, guess what? That's true. That's true, and I absolutely agree with that. But gangsters is gangsters and fighters are fighters, and if you know the difference, you know that there's a different level of battlefield etiquettes that are going to be played in that particular matter, right? So, you know, I think you know what I mean. The Punisher says, Assalamu alaikum, Salam alaikum, Kyrie. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah to you, the Punisher. Shout out to you. Toxic Gameplay says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way that you treat them. Rather, bring them up with discipline and instructions that come from the Lord. Okay, so Ephesians 6:4 is the Bible verse on that. Okay, very good, very good. Yes, that the Islamic way of thinking is very much in line with that Toxic Gameplay. So yes, very good. Toxic Gameplay says, remember that dude that made fun of Raja's mom and Raja was hurt because Raja's mom is dead? Wow, okay, yeah, what about that? What came out of that situation? Very curious to know about that, right? And I didn't know. That kind of explains a lot, okay, that the mother had passed away, but yeah, that's very interesting right there. Please elaborate more on that if you can, Toxic Gameplays. Waka says, from the UK, my brothers and sisters, stand strong, stand tall against all oppressors, and stand for your Muslim brothers across the dunya. All right, that's what I'm talking about, Wakas. I'm going to pin that comment right there. Shout outs to my brothers in the UK, of course, Zayn Musa Boxing Dosage, one of my biggest allies in the UK, and everybody else around the world. Conor McGregor says, why did his Japanese kids go to college and the black kids did not? Cultures matter a lot. I would say so. I would say so. Okay, you know what? Culture, yes. At least you're speaking on the side of cultural upbringing rather than some like racial undertone of, okay, well, this is in his bloodstream, this is how he is, or this, that, and the other. I mean, yeah, I don't go for all of that, right? But if the half Japanese kids were raised by their Japanese mother, that would make sense why they are in college, because Japan is very big into education, and obviously this is the reason why. So Rob Dog says, Raja accepted his apology, waited till he was working, then sneak attack him. LOL. Raja got rage baited by his chat stream. That's also a very important point, right? I mentioned yesterday that whenever I got into a street fight as a kid, right, I would always get provoked into doing it again. Like, oh, you let him hit you this many times, you got to go get the get back. Next thing you know, I'm fighting the same guy on the same day in the locker room and into the lunchroom based on that. So yes, I can understand how the mob can somehow really influence your way of thinking. So yes, I do agree that he got rage baited. Kadu says, got rage baited by a teen chat. That's very true. But this is what I mean, right? Just like what I said about California earlier. California culture is driven by the youth, right? Think about it. California is the only state where we got 50-year-old skaters. Remember Conor McGregor when he called my homie Uriah Faber, you know, a 50-year-old skater. Well, we got a lot of 50-year-old skaters out here, and guess what? We got a lot of 40-year-old and 50-year-old gangbangers out here, too. California is a state that is driven by youth culture, and whether the OGs like to admit it or not, their whole entire prerogative, depending on what kind of culture you come from, whether that's a gangbang culture or the culture of skateboarding, your whole entire prerogative is to impress these teens, and a 25-year-old Raja Jackson is no different than that. Fresh Melon Juice says, it was fresh, I did nothing. You understand? Ishi Ali, shout out to Ishi Ali. Some people just really don't belong in the public eye. Well, yeah, man, I kind of understand what you mean by that. I don't know if I would go that far with Raja, though, right? He seems like a very reasonable kid. but I just think that there's just a lot of wrong environments that he has stumbled upon, and one of them is his dad constantly berating him in public. And I know that it's all jokey banter or this and that. I know that a lot of the British guys, they do that same thing with their sons as well, a lot of bantering and this and that. But I don't know, man. It's not my thing to go berate my kid in front of everybody in the world just so I can look tough. Michael Bisping, you know, does that as well. That's the reason why I sort of hinted and gave an example of British men, British white men doing that with their kids as well in the culture of banter, as they say. So, Toxic Gameplay says, I'm 100% sure Rampage has almost beat a man to death himself. He got kicked out of college for fighting too, correct? But I'm sure not having cameras anywhere saved him from the same thing that Raja will go through. Exactly. I'm going to pinpoint that comment right there, Toxic Gameplays. Exactly. So the reason why it is a lot harder for Raja, you're a son of an MMA legend. On top of that, not only are you a son of an MMA legend, you are also in the public eye because your dad is the one who encouraged him to do a live stream. Put that in perspective, right? Eli says, I thought Raja was 17, but people are saying he is 25. That's old enough. Correct. Yeah, he is 25 and not 17. That guy says, you can't fight. Well, that guy. Who is that guy? A guy who has no subscribers and has the Marine Corps. Yeah, you're really a tough guy. Because you have the Marine Corps insignia. Anyways, listen, I'm blocking you up out of here. You're out of here for good. I'm getting rid of you just because I just don't like your vibe. And you know what? I'm really not in the mood today whatsoever, right? I'm not in the mood to be out here, you know, arguing with faceless people. V. Cart Kyrie, Bears been training. Be careful, Kyrie. Bear's been training. That's okay. I've been training too. And you know what? You guys see 50% of my training in this live stream. And then there's the other 50% that I don't show you because, well, let's just say there's other guys out there that would prefer to not have their training sessions live streamed, right? So I have to respect that and I have to get it in with those guys, but that's that, right? Yeah, Kyrie will have trouble fighting Bear and Guru. They are high-level MMA fighters. Sure they are. Fresh melon juice. Toxic Gameplays. All the tweets about Raja starts with black man or black streamer. Well, you know what? There's a reason for that, right? There's a reason for that. Black streamer, black man, because obviously that's part of the whole entire rage baiting thing or the race baiting type of thing. So Raja convicted. Excuse me? What do you mean by that? Or is that breaking news that you're breaking there? And let me know. Adufa says that's just entertainment. Well, I don't know how much of an entertainment this is, but yeah. Big Boars MMA says, thoughts on MMA Joey saying the wrestler would be happy what happened to him. Thoughts on MMA Joey saying the wrestler would be happy what happened to him. I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so Big Boars, I'm going to pin that comment, right? This is big for Syko Stu. Now, I'm not a WWE guy on the mainstream level, and certainly not a WWE guy on a regional and independent wrestling promotions level, right? So, in other words, I'm out of the loop of wrestling. I know enough, like I'm a casual where, okay, I saw SummerSlam, I was locked into SummerSlam, and then before that, WrestleMania. So all the big events I'll tap into, right? So I have a familiarity just a little bit about the wrestlers, not the way that I used to, but I would say a good enough amount of knowledge. And this is what I'll say to that. This is the best thing to tap into Syko Stu, and this is probably the best chance that he will get to have Triple H look at him. Okay, because Triple H right now is the top promoter of WWE, the top executive, and also the top recruiter and matchmaker, right? So you would think that it got his attention now. Think about that. It got his attention. Look, imagine Syko Stu wakes up. He goes into Monday Night Raw this Monday, right? Where's Monday Night Raw this Monday? I don't know. Name a random city, right? Syko Stu shows up. The whole crowd starts roaring. Roar. Syko Stu. Syko Stu, Syko Stu. Or, you know, if he was a heel, everybody would go, you deserved it. You deserved it. No, only probably the Raja fans would say that, but I think a vast majority of the WBE fans are probably with Syko Stu because, you know, it's an MMA guy versus a wrestler, and then there's a black and white thing going on. So, yeah, man, you know, it's not a good look for, for Raja, but, yeah, for Syko Stu, it's a better look. So, yes. Okay, so I hope that answered that question. Growing up with no responsibility. Are you talking about Raja growing up with no responsibility? I think you're right about that, but I will say that maybe MMA sort of shaped him into something a little bit different. It maybe gave him a little bit of discipline, very similar to Chavez Jr., right? Obviously, he's a rich kid that grew up with a legendary father, champion, and, you know, lived in luxury, but then he decided to follow in his father's footsteps, and maybe boxing and combat sports gave him a little bit of discipline that he needed that he may not have gotten living in a school of the hard knocks. So, Colby 1, that's the first time I've seen you here. Okay, so shout outs to you. Let me know what part of the world you are from, my man, and write on the comment section below where you are from and how you ran across this channel. Colby says, there's nothing to do with skin color, brother. Hitting a man multiple times while unconscious is a violent crime. In God's eyes, we are all the same. Wish you the best. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for that, my man. So I'm going to pin your comment, Colby, okay? Because that's a very important comment. So, my man, and my fellow Muslim brother, you sound like a very reasonable person, like most of the people that are in my chat. Most of the regulars in my chat are very reasonable-minded people. You're absolutely right about that. It is not about skin color. This was not about skin color for Raja. It was not about skin color for Syko Stu, because I can tell you, as a person that's had experience in the military, right, most military people don't have racism in them because of the fact that they are entrenched with other different groups of people out there, and they welcome them as brothers, all one and the same, right? So there's no racism in the part of Raja because he's grown up with a lot of white people. If you are the son of Rampage, yes, you're definitely going to be around a lot of white people, including Uncle Bear. Yes, Uncle Bear is here. God damn it, you really fucked up this time, nephew. You really fucked up this time. Okay, so these are two people that are very well experienced with other people. There's no racism in them. However, the other people out there will make this about race. Okay, the black nationalists will make this about race. The white nationalists will use this as a way of saying, you see, this is why they are that, and this is why they do what they do, right? And then they throw in the words black fatigue and this, that, and the other. So, yeah, man, something to think about. So it's not us that's the problem here, the reasonable-minded people of the world. It's everybody else in Twitter land. Toxic Gameplay says Kyrie just banned the rage baiters. For sure, right? Because I'm not about to get race baited into, you know, into a situation again. So forget that. B Fairchild says, I knew something like this was going to happen to Rampage's son. Very interesting. Okay. When you grow up spoiled by a rich daddy, but still cling to the synthetic hood, black tough guy culture, it never ends up good. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to pin that comment, okay? Because that's a very interesting comment right there. So, all right. B Fairchilds. Shout out to you, by the way. Let me know what part of the world you are from. Okay. I want to address that, right? That's a very important topic to talk about right there. I'm going to read it again for those of you that didn't get it or are not reading the pinned comment. B Fairchild says, I knew something like this was going to happen to Rampage's son. When you grow up spoiled by a rich daddy but cling to the synthetic hood, black guy, tough guy culture, it never ends up good. The reason why I decided to pin that comment, okay? Now, I don't know too many sons of, you know, black legends in the NBA or in MMA or boxing or anything like that. I don't know too many rich black kids like that. I do know one growing up in New Jersey, right? I remember his name was Rob Sumner. in Union, New Jersey. You guys could look him up. I really don't care about doxing people or this and that. I mean, whatever. If his private information is out there, it's out there. But yeah, Rob Sumner, right? His dad was an executive in Def Jam, okay? And he grew up with a lot of white kids and this and that. And I always thought it was kind of weird that he had this, you know, yeah, thug mentality about him. But go figure, his dad works in Def Jam, okay? And his dad is an executive, but yet he goes to prom with all these white kids, has a white girlfriend, this, that, and the other, the whole nine, right? But on the other side of that, in California, I know a lot of sons of famous black gangsters. And when I mean famous in the streets. I don't mean famous on the internet or on TV, okay? So that does happen. There is an element of that. And then sometimes it goes beyond just being rich. Obviously, with these you know, second generation gang members that I know, right? It often ends up where, you know, they are stuck in this world where they have to follow a certain ethos. So you're right, man. It's a very interesting point, B. Fairchild. I'm glad that you, you know, brought that up. B. Fairchild says, MMA Joey is a chomo. Look it up. Wow, really? Man, listen, B. Fairchild's, man, you know how it is, right? In the streets. I don't know if you know anything about the streets or anything, but if you're going to throw you know, an accusation like that, bro, listen, there better be some serious evidence behind that, because that is a serious claim to make with anybody. Anybody can make that claim about anybody you don't like, right? You know, somebody like me who's never had any foul charges on me, right? Never had, you know, any stain on my name or anything like that. You know, you could easily just say that about me with, you know, absolutely no proof. But if MMA Joey is that, then I'm going to have to look into that and look for serious considerations of consuming his content. So thank you for that comment, but I hope there's some realness to that. Marty Miller says, we need a bigger peg board for the pinned comments. Yes, that's true. That's true. We'll try to work on that. Fiji Water. Shout out to Fiji Water. I mean, Raja may be spoiled and all, but all the disrespect from his dad and talking about him being a vegan, no wonder he snapped. That's what it is, man. That's what it is. Yes, that's really what it comes down to, Fiji Water. Fresh Melon Juice says, Kyrie loves his post-it notes. What does that mean? You mean like when I pin the comments? Yeah, if you say something very interesting, you know, I'm going to pin that comment. B. Fairchild's had a very interesting comment, so I'm going to pin that, which, by the way, is very much within the theme of what we are talking about right here, his comment that I just pinned. Original says, what do you think of Penguin's Zero video on it? I did not see that. He said that Raj's beatdown of Syko Stu is very similar to Kratos' rage attack when Kratos stopped once they're unconscious. Okay, you're going to have to give me a little more context on that. I'm not sure of who the that video or that content creator is, but yeah, please elaborate more if you can, please. Fiji Water says he took his anger on the poor veteran wrestler. Wrong place, wrong time, right? And this is why I say, listen, man, don't ever mess with anybody whatsoever, right? Like, you don't know what they got going on or what they are facing or this, that, and the other. Look, I'll tell you this, right? This is something that's going to shock a lot of people in what I'm about to say, but I have to say it. When I meet an American black kid versus meeting an American white kid, and it depends if the American white kid is from the ghetto or not, or if he's from the hood or not, right? Because that actually matters in this situation. Look, I am less inclined to go and try and piss off somebody who's black than somebody who's white. You want to know why? Because if you're a black kid in America, I'm sorry to say, the truth of the matter is you face more discrimination than anybody else out there. And if anybody doesn't like that I made a comment on that, that's just really what it is. On the other note, growing up in Stockton, I mean, I didn't grow up in Stockton. I ended up living in Stockton. But living in Stockton, I got into it with a lot of black dudes, okay? And that's street stuff, not race-related or anything like that. But even knowing that, even having enemies that were black, whether it was in the East Coast or whether it was in the West Coast of Stockton, LA, Fresno, Sacramento, or whatever, right? Even having enemies like that, I still had an understanding that, you know what? Black people have it way harder than that of other races. And you know, sometimes it's not a DEI type of thing, but it's sort of like, all right, you know what? Do you really want to give this guy more problems than what he's already facing? You know, this guy probably gets bitched at by his baby mama at home, gets discriminated at work, gets discriminated at job interviews, never mind, you know, getting to work, right? All these things are a factor. So, you know, just something to think about. But yeah. Fairchild says Raja eats bananas with his feet. Okay, man, a little out there to say, but yeah. Marty Miller says that was a big part of it. Fiji also opened the door for everyone else to pile on him even more. Okay, Marty, I'm going to pin that comment right there. Okay, I'm pinning that comment for Marty Miller. He says that was a big part of it. Fiji, obviously, referring back to Fiji's comment of you know, of his dad, you know, constantly going at him. What did Fiji here say that, to make Marty Miller say that? Yeah, I mean, Raja is spoiled and all, but all the disrespect from his dad and talking about him vegan, no wonder he snapped. Correct. And in response to that, Marty Miller says that was a big part of it. Fiji also opened the door for everyone else to pile on him even more. So that is true. Look, Rampage is a very charismatic man. He's a very beloved figure in MMA. So if he says, F my son, guess what? Everybody across the world, from California to Japan, and everybody that's in his fan base is going to say the same thing. Haha, F Raja. Oh, isn't Rampage so great? You see what I'm saying? So it definitely did. And you know what? Listen, bro. In the gang world, straight up, man, I've seen dudes like that. I've seen dudes like that where their dads and you know, they're second generation, third generation gang members, right? Their dads just constantly berate them. Oh, you know, N-word, you ain't never gonna be this and that. Oh, you know, you ain't this, you ain't that. Next thing you know, it gets into the son's head, and guess what? They go and end up committing the most murders in the hood. You know, they're like, hey, I want to get in that car. You know, let's get in that car and do a drive-by on the ops on the other side of town. And guess what? They're filled with so much anger. They're like, well, I'm going to show my dad. I'm going to show my daddy I ain't no punk around here. And that's usually what happens. You guys know the rapper, what's his name? I think PNB Rock, I believe he got shot in Compton. He went to like a Waffle House in Compton, right? And then the shooters were Hoover Crip members, right? The Hoover Crip members was a dad and a son that killed him. And, well, you would probably imagine what the dad was, allegedly, just saying, okay, allegedly. We don't know if these people have been convicted or not. But, yeah, I'm not here to help out, you know, with a case for anybody. That's not my job. But, yeah, a very big point for Marty Miller on that one. Marty Miller says, but you shouldn't put yourself out there like that if you can't handle the negativity that comes with it, because it's going to come. Correct. Correct, Marty. That's another pinned comment right there that I'm going to make for Marty Miller. Very good comment right there. Right. And by the way, guys, I don't just pin these comments because I like a person or because I favor a person more than the other. Right. I pin these comments because, you know what, they make sense, whether I like you or not, or whether I think that you are a good person or not. Right. Marty Miller just happens to be an awesome person, and he just, you know, happens to be spit facts. There's a lot of you in here that don't like me, but hey, guess what? If you spit facts, you know, I'm going to put it in the forefront and, you know, and give you your time to shine. So, yeah, man. Yeah, but you shouldn't put yourself out there like that if you can't handle the negativity that comes with it, because it's going to come. Correct. Just like Sin City Manny, the Mexican YouTuber that shot that black couple that was talking shit to him, right? You know, they pull up at the Bellagio. They're outside hanging out like everybody else does in Vegas. Next thing you know, Manny pulls up, bang, bang. You know, straight up puts two, you know, bullets in their head right in front of everybody, right? So which was a crazy situation. And I say to Manny with that, man, listen, if you can't handle this, don't go on the internet, because, you know, even me as a small-time channel, at least a small-time channel for now until I get bigger, there's a lot of people out here that troll me, and that's all right. Look, I know I have enough self-realization to know that I am a target for trolls, just like Raja is a target for trolls. He's a target for trolls because he's black, he's a son of a legend, and then on top of that, believe it or not, that comes with even more of a hassle than, let's say, if you were just a regular black guy with no legendary family lineage, right? But the fact that he comes from a legendary family lineage brings a lot of problems to that, and you are a target for a troll. Me, I know I'm a target for a troll. Look at the way that I talk. I talk white. I sound white. I sound like an Ivy League, college graduate student. Okay, I'm not far from that, but at the same time, I'm also Arab. I got a big beard. I shill for the Dagestanis and the Muslim fighters. Yeah, bro, I am a target. I am a target for a lot of people, and then the street people are going to look at me and say, oh, well, you're not really that hard. You ain't really from where you say you're from because of the way that you sound. Well, you know what? Then, come see me then, right? But that's what I mean, right? It just becomes this cycle of constantly trying to prove yourself or this, that, and the other. And the truth of the matter is you're never going to satisfy anybody because they're always going to have something to say about you. And the more that you understand that, the more that you have a healthy mind in understanding this content creator space. So another one, fresh, Marty Miller says, Mr. Burberry says, so my take is that Stu apologized to him. Raja got bad advice or advice that wasn't explained properly, but they told him to get back in the ring, but 22 punches is rough, shattered his teeth. I'm going to pin that comment right there because that's a very important comment too. So they did tell Raja to do it, which, by the way, this is going to be his #1 defense going into this. Just something to think about. Copley says, I am from Hungary, my friend. Shout outs to Hungary, man. Shout outs to Hungary. So we got people from Hungary. We got people from Ukraine, Russia. We got people from the UAE. We got people from the good old United States of America. We got Canada. Of course, we got England. Shout outs to my boy Zane Musa Boxing Dosage, one of my biggest allies in the game of YouTube. And everybody around the world, Midwest, Ohio, Marty Miller. We got Fresh Melon Juice in a black site in a CIA facility somewhere in an undisclosed location. So everybody around the world, thank you. So Marty Miller says, I'm with Burberry. I see why it happened, but it still can't be really justified. Yeah, man, really not, right? I mean, and then on top of that, the fact that he, sort of proclaimed it after the fact, screaming, oh, this, that, and the other, ain't nobody gonna play with me, or this, that. I mean, it's, yeah, that is absolutely crazy stuff, man. That he would, proclaim something like that, at the end of the video, which I don't think helps his case. But what does help his case, obviously, is the fact that he has what do you call it? That he supposedly had the promoter's approval. So Mr. Burberry says Raja was recovering from a concussion from 2 days prior, so getting that can smash over his head probably didn't sit well with him. I'll be honest, it depends on what Stu says, whether he'll get charged or not. And an MP has an up signal, basically seconding Mr. Burberry's comment. Okay, so I'm going to pin that comment, Mr. Burberry. You want to know why? Listen. CTE gives you a high sense of aggression, right? I remember, because obviously I've fought before, I've been hit in the head before, and I don't know how it affects me. I mean, obviously I'm very coherent. I'm able to have a podcast. I'm able to have, a talk show. I'm able to talk in a coherent manner. So I don't know how much it affected me or not. But I will say, right, let's say if I'm playing with my kids or whatever, right, and I accidentally get hit. Oh my goodness, listen, the rage that comes out of me is insane. Now, obviously, I don't do anything to the kid or anything like that, but if I was to get tapped by just any normal-aged, military-aged male like this in my head, let's say you just give me a light tap like that, man, I'm telling you, there's something in me that's just snaps or straight away. I remember that feeling of impact, getting kicked in the head, getting punched in the head, getting elbowed in the head. That impact of maybe even if you are in a car accident, that whiplash that you get, right? You remember it, and the next thing you know, you're in a fight or flight mode. This is something that a lot of people don't understand about CTE. So here's the thing, right? Maybe the delayed reaction of Raja was a little bit delayed, but it was still in the back of his mind. And then you add on to the fact that there's a humiliation factor that's involved in all of this. I think, look, man, if I was Rampage's homie, right? If I had access to Rampage, you know what? I should try and call TJ Dillashaw, right? I should try and get in contact with TJ Dillashaw to see if I can talk to Rampage. I would straight up tell Rampage, bro, listen, your son did this because of the constant berating that you do to him in public. And this is the problem with certain people, okay? One of the problems with certain people is that they like to berate their kids online, in person, right? This is just... Okay, what group of people berates their children publicly more than anybody? I'm just going to let you answer that because this is too controversial to really get into it. But like I said, man, the controversy that I'm going to spew and say is, you know, it goes both ways, right? You know, oftentimes I get accused of being anti-white. Okay, I get accused of, oh, you're anti-white, you hate white people or this and that. No, I just call out the BS in whatever side is spewing the BS, right? And I will say there's just a certain group of people that berate their children in public in ways that I just don't see with other groups of people. Okay, just like I don't see other groups of people calling the cops on me when I'm shadow boxing in the sauna. You know who calls the cops on me or tells the front desk that I'm, you know, shadow boxing in a sauna? It's usually white people. Okay, now obviously no offense to my white homies or this and that. This is just the fact of the matter. So Mr. Burberry says, I'm not saying it's justified. I'm just giving scope. Yeah, you know, no, you're giving a very good scope there, my man. That's very important to understand with this particular subject. NP2602 says, for real, people get hurt over that type of behavior. That's really what it is, man. Mr. Burberry says, wrestling is something I've followed since I was 4. And I can tell you they want controversy or eyes on the business. So if Rampage offers Stu some money, he might just say it was a work. 22 punches is crazy. Mr. Burberry, I'm pinning your comment again. That's a very important. So you know what? Behind the scenes right now, Rampage is with his publicist. He's with his lawyers. And they're coming up with a game plan. And everything that Mr. Burberry here says is a possible game plan for an exit strategy of this calamity. Okay, so let me read it again. Wrestling is something I've followed since I was 4. I can tell you that they want controversy or eyes on the business. And yeah, so this is why it's not a surprise that they did this. So if Rampage offers Stu some money, he might just say it was a work and 22 punches is crazy. Again, American law, when it comes to assault, does work towards discretion. There's so many people that I've punched in the face, right? And they've called the cops, and for whatever reason, the cops didn't get to me, or they didn't find where I was at, or this, that, and the other, and they couldn't do anything. So then when they asked the guy again, well, are you going to press charges this time? And then for whatever reason, they came to their senses. I don't know what made them come to their senses. Maybe they got punched too hard, but they never ended up pressing charges. Okay? So, you know, put it that way. Or maybe I sent a few people to their house to tell them to shut up. But on any regard, yes, so Syko Stu is in critical condition but stable, according to Toxic Gameplays. Mulligan Wallen says he got pressed by teenagers and his own father cracked under pressure of the comments and jokes. Should be in jail either way. He is broke now. Wow. Okay. So we're gonna pin that comment by Mulligan. Shout out to Mulligan. Let me know if you're from Ireland. Sounds like a very Irish name. Haven't seen you here before. First time I've seen you. Shout out to you, my man. Marty Miller is laughing. What is Marty Miller laughing at? I'm curious to know. I guess something that I may have said, or maybe something that someone in the comments said. Mr. Burberry says he's gonna have to pay for sure. He might have to start fighting again. Oh, good lord. Good lord. Yeah, Rampage fighting again. Yeah, that would be interesting, right? Seeing Rampage fight again. But yeah, on any regard, okay, Marty Miller says, and another. Okay, Culp says, I don't think this was, I think when you say another, I think you're talking about the pinned comment maybe. Culp says, I don't think it was planned revenge. Young guy just couldn't control his anger, made a bad decision. He had to apologize and take full responsibility for his actions and make changes to fix this in him. NP says, if you live anywhere near Stockton, there's a bunch of gang stuff. Yeah, man, that's really what it is, man. But Nick and Nate Diaz didn't actually really live in Stockton. Okay, they just claimed it. Like, they never were really, 8th Street. They weren't North Side. They weren't, all the other sections that are in Stockton. They just, yeah, they never lived in those areas. They just claimed, the 209 area code. River Cloud says, arrest Raja. Wiggins says, loser. Who are you talking to, Wiggins? I know you ain't talking to me. I don't know if you're talking to somebody in the chat or this, that, or the other. But yeah, Raja is grown 25. He should know better. Original is laughing. River Cloud says, you don't think he should be arrested? It's not that I don't think that he should be arrested. It is in the discretion of Syko Stu. Now, look, man. I've been jumped before. I've been in fights. I've been in street altercations before. And there were situations where I've gotten hurt in these situations. Did I go and call the cops on these people? Absolutely not. It's just not what I do. Fresh Melon Juice says, pin a comment, the new drinking game. What is a new drinking game? Okay. River Cloud says, arrest Raja. So you don't think he should be arrested? Listen, man, I'm not one of these people that calls for people to be arrested in any kind of way. It's not my job. If you believe that he should be arrested, well, that's okay. That's your own opinion. Can you answer, do you think he should be arrested? Okay, so let me answer that question, River Cloud. I don't think I don't want to see any man arrested unless you're a pedophile. That's really all there is to it, and I stand on that with 10 toes down. Folo says, Raja needs prison. He's a scumbag. That guy would have been dead if the wrestler didn't pull Raja off. Yeah, man. So River Cloud says, do you think he should be... I think I answered that question right there. Fresh Melon Juice says, you don't get pinned, you will be banned. Unless you are Miller, then you get banned. What the heck? Bro, you're bringing up something that I made an accident on, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, River Cloud says, do you think Raja should be arrested? I had mentioned that. You talk like a Navy guy. Okay, very, very interesting. But remember, the Marine Corps is a branch of the Navy, so just so you know. Marty Miller says it's because I'm Christian, Fresh. Oh, is that why? Okay. Fresh Melon Juice says, LOL. River Cloud says, it's the Marty Miller channel, LOL. Well, he is the moderator of this channel, so yeah, you could say that it is his channel as well. And I don't have a beard, okay? Yeah, that's a big foul right there, right? You don't have a beard, so yeah, you are going to be discriminated on that. 03 Zach 30 says, bro, he's unconscious. Still? Are you talking about he's still? They didn't say hit him 20 times. No, they didn't. But the problem is that in his defense and what his lawyer is going to say is that, hey, you know what, man? The promoter told me to go after him. Very vague language. It's a very vague language, and it's open to anyone's interpretation. 03 Zach 30 says, I'm from Scotland, brothers. Shoutouts to Scotland. Everybody from Scotland, shoutouts to you, lad. I love everybody in Scotland. 03 Zach 30, shoutouts to you, friend. I am from California and you are from Scotland. I love it. I love the Scottish flag, yeah? It's all blue and white. It's perfect. Freaking love it. Hey, how's my Scottish accent on that one? I do all types of accents here. I even do Russian newsman accents. Oh, goodness. Now people are going to ask for Russian newsman accents on top of that. Fresh Melon Juice says, beard without mustache is a good move when you eat food. Beard with, yes, yes. So that is precisely one of the Islamic etiquettes and the reasons behind it. Fresh Melon Juice says, CTE, easy as 1, 2, 3. And then Christopher says, that's BS. Mr. Burberry says, PTSD stupidity. Yeah, all can be a factor. Very true. Christopher, shout out to Christopher. This is the first time I've seen you here. Let me know what part of the world you are from, my man. And Christopher says, Raja has issues, but it stems from his mom dying. Okay, so very interesting point right there, right? A lot of people really underestimate how a parent leaving them at a very young age can affect them, and, you know, especially, you know, dying at a timely manner like that. Marty Miller says, it's honestly kind of gay that we feel like we need to say no offense after everything. Of course, suburban whites are the biggest Karens and rat on you. Well, yeah, that's really what it is, right? Yeah, I think you're right about that. It really is not so much of a race thing, is it? Right? It's just more of like, you know, whether you're a Karen or not, and you know, it just so happens that a lot of white people are Karens, right? You know, but not to say that there aren't Indian Karens, and goodness gracious, they're the worst of them all, right? You know, there's black Karens, there's Hispanic Karens. I mean, there's Karens of all types of races, but yeah. Christopher says that's battery, not assault. Okay. Christopher, elaborate a little bit on what you on the differences of that. I know what you mean, but I would like for you to write on the comment section below to sort of elaborate that with others. Fresh Melon Juice says, Miller, that's California for you, sensitive people. Oh, is that right? Am I sensitive now? Am I sensitive now? Are we? Are we bloody sensitive now? Okay, so Mocow says, he arrested yet or not? No, he hasn't been arrested yet because, well, there hasn't been any charges filed. The promoters haven't filed any charges. By the way, the people that were running the show, do you guys remember Umaga or Rikishi? I believe his family members were the one that had this show going on. So, no, he hasn't been arrested yet. I think in order for him to be arrested, the promoters would have to be in on it. They would have to call the police. None of that happened. None of the wrestlers called the police. None of Stu's family called the police yet. So, yeah, there's a lot going on here. But, man, I tell you, once that arrest happens, you know that the body cam is going to be out. There's going to be some big news about it. And I'm going to be here to cover it as well, right? You know, get some, you know, more extra views on this. So, yeah, Mulligan says, yeah, 911, what's your emergency? That's us and proud of it. Lax will take charge for some random schmuck. Never understood that ish. Be like, nah, that dude over there with a blue shirt, yellow Crocs did it. Okay, well, Mulligan says, we need more snitches from Alabama, big dog. So shout outs to Alabama. Okay, Mulligan, listen. Mulligan from Alabama. I understand your stance on that, but you also got to understand different people have a different line of thinking in that particular matter. Look, here's the thing, right? You're from Alabama. You're probably, I mean, I don't know if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I'm going to go out of the limb and say maybe you're a Republican, right? No problem. Look, one of the things that I like about Republicans is that they believe in small government intervention, right? What is small government intervention? Put it like this. If there's a house party going on in my block, do you think that I'm going to go and call the cops on these people? Or do you think that I'm going to go and handle it myself? Right? Somebody who's a trained fighter, somebody who understands hand-to-hand combat, somebody who's very confident in fighting for himself. Am I going to go call the cops and waste taxpayers' money? Or am I going to go and handle it myself? Obviously, if you have some conservative values and some of those conservative values are predicated on small government, I'm not going to go call the government for something that I could handle myself. So that's one way of looking at it, but it's all right. We all have different ideologies and how we look at the world. It's no big deal. Ain't no, ain't no ain't no small fry to a Big Mac. You know what I'm saying? So Mr. Burberry says Chael Sonnen said this morning that the police are in possession of the footage and he's still not arrested. So they are waiting on Stu for a statement from his view. Ooh, okay. I'm pinning that comment right there, Mr. Burberry. That's a very important topic to talk about. So look, Chael Sonnen, he said on his video that he does know of Raja Jackson, okay? So let's be honest about this, right? I don't think Chael Sonnen can really give an unbiased take on this particular matter, right? He's friends with Rampage. He's friends with Rampage's son. He's close with the family. Yeah, you're not going to get a fair, objective take with Chael Sonnen on this. What he's going to do is, just give you the facts and figures of what's going on. Now, this is the facts and figures of what's going on. He mentions that the police are in possession of this footage, and they're now waiting for Stu to wake up. So, yeah, we're gonna find out, what is gonna come up out of this. So that's a very interesting breaking. I'm not sure if that's breaking news, but maybe it's a new Chael Sonnen video, and I haven't seen it yet. But shout out to you on that, Mr. Burberry. Miller says that's right, Fresh. Juice says the victim's family has said that they are focused on the recovery for now, probably meaning they will come after Raja later. Okay, I'm pinning that comment as well. That's a very important comment right there. The victim's family said they are focused on recovery now, and probably meaning they will wait for they will come after Raja later. And you know what? Rampage has family in Japan, obviously, right? So, being that he has family that lives in Japan, what do you think Raja is going to do? Hey, Dad, listen, I need to get up out of the country. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, man. I know so many people, and I'm not saying they're my homies or anything like that, not saying that I know any of them. I know so many people that have done some real dirt here in California, and next thing you know, once that dirt was exposed, passport, plane ticket, up out of here. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is a common thing. So, but I don't know, man. Raja is, Raja is sort of a known public figure now at this point, so it would be a little bit harder for him to, make that kind of, escape, but who knows? Okay, so Marty Miller says the promoter actually said, give him a receipt. Marty Miller says, didn't know they were coming fresh. Okay. So, Stuart, that's a very dumb comment. I had to pretty much, I had to erase that comment because it was dumb, because I'm nowhere near Pajit. So I don't know why, you would even say that. But in any regard, go F yourself. And as a matter of fact, go drink, hot acid for all I care. Marty Miller says, they're coming fresh. Okay, you're talking about the cops. Okay. Afternoon says, hello, do you speak German? No, I do not. Guten Tag to you, my man. So, no, I do not speak German. I'm sorry, but welcome to the channel anyway. Let me know what part of Germany you are from. He says, my mom died and beat me as a child, and doesn't mean I beat people unconscious. Wow, okay. I mean, different circumstances, right? Again, we don't know what motivated Raja to do what he does. And yes, there are a lot of horrible things that happen to people all the time, and it doesn't give them any excuse to act out in a very irrational way. You're correct. Okay, Spirch du Deutsch, wer nicht du Sort muss spruren. Very interesting, man. I like reading German. That's what's up, man. Shout outs to the Germans and, and people around the world that are tapped into this channel. 4Fo62 says, it's vile, whatever it is. He would have unalived him if he didn't stop. Sounds like attempted unaliving to me. Mr. Burberry, look at you speaking some German right here. Kann nur English sprechen. Okay, I sounded a little Russian there, but that's because I'm stuck on constantly doing Russian accents. Empty says, promotion just as much to blame. They told him multiple times to tee off on him. That's what I'm saying, Empty. That is what I'm saying, right? It is so open to interpretation. Now, look, if I was told to get in there, all right, listen, you're going to get in there and do a pro wrestling bid. You're going to pick him up. You're going to slam him, and then you're going to give him some punches. I mean, I wouldn't do all that, right? Maybe I would, you know, fake an forearm shot, make it look like my fist connected. But, man, he really went off on him in a way that Khamzat wanted to get off on, wanted to get off on DDP. By the way, when I was watching MMA Guru's video, man, he referenced Khamzat Chimaev during the ground and pound fight, and then he said something to the effect, Khamzat Chimaev would have been jealous of this. I'm like, man, MMA Guru, Mr. Kyle Me, leave him alone, bro. Leave Khamzat alone. He is not in this. You know what I mean? Khamzat just got in the United States. He already got his visa to come here and train and fight whenever he wants. And now you're trying to implicate him into all this. Bro, leave Khamzat alone, bro. You know what I mean? So Marty Miller says, yeah, they basically did Empty. Empty says, lots of misinformation spread around this. Very true. I think the promotion should be put on blast for now, for how they and their wrestlers did most nothing but antagonize Raja. That's what I'm saying, right? Like, he didn't come in there as a worker or as a wrestling angle type of person. He came in there as a guest with his camera crew, and he was not expected to do any of these wrestling type of situations going on. But yeah, there's a video of a guy apologizing. Come on. Pork Chop says, do small amounts of research and you'll find that. Empty says, I have. Did you watch the scene? Okay, so there's a little bit of back and forth going on with Afternoon and Empty here. Afternoon says he attacked a man older than his father because he tried to prove something to the internet. Is Syko Stu really older than Rampage? That's interesting. I didn't know that. But yeah, I would have thought maybe Syko Stu would be like in his 30s or 40s or so. But I guess that's old to some people. But I don't know, man. I guess, being a veteran at war, I don't know how many tours the dude did, but, if it was like more than 3 or 4, then yeah, I could see why, that may have, really affected him in a way where he looks old now. Empty says, during the apology, Raja accepted it on the terms that the fight happens in the ring. Okay, he accepted it. Okay, so it wasn't necessarily a fight, right? Like, he cooperated in being picked up by Raja and slammed, but I don't think he cooperated in being punched like that. But I don't know, man. He attacked a man 25 years older than him because he was out of shape and knew he wouldn't fight back. Listen, bro, he's a professional wrestler. I think that you may not be in the best fighting condition as a pro wrestler, but as a pro wrestler you're in shape. Oh, you may not have the skills of an MMA fighter or boxer, but wrestlers are people that are in shape, and not only are they in shape, they are people that literally take damage for a living. I mean, indicative of the Mick Foley versus The Rock match, where The Rock basically hit him with a steel chair on his head almost 100 times in a single match. So Afternoon says he dropped that last stream, so his monkey behavior. So, oh no, I can't let people on the internet think I'm weak. Wow, okay, a little bit of a racial undertone there, calling it monkey behavior, but okay. Hey, like I said, I allow free speech in here, but it just can't be to the point where, it gets flagged by YouTube, because remember, as a content creator, we are also responsible for what is in the chat. Empty says, and then they continue to tell him to not hold back. Let's be real here. You don't do that to someone you don't know. What do you mean by that? When you say you don't do that to someone you don't know, do you mean you don't tell them to not, to not hold back? Explain that a little bit. Elaborate on that a little bit, Empty. Marty Miller says, yeah, I saw that too, Empty. Pork Chop says, no, dude, watch the video. Afternoon says, I'm just glad I don't have to live near people that looked and act like him. Well, I tell you what, so you live in Germany, right? What part of Germany do you live at, Mr. Afternoon? Just so I could get some better context. Empty says, I did, homie. I watched the whole video. You probably watched Guru's take and ran with the narrative. Let's be real here. So yeah, man, Guru's narrative in this is kind of wild, but what do you expect? The guy he's a white nationalist. He's a closet white nationalist. So he's going to take up that position, right? And of course, he tries to reference the fact that he does a podcast with DJ Mighty Mouse. So hey, look, I'm not racist. I do a podcast with the most famous, black fighter ever. Well, I don't know about most famous, but probably the most well accomplished in DJ Johnson. Shout outs to him. Oh, you know what? I am going to be curious to hear their conversation on this, Guru and DJ. That will be an interesting podcast they're going to have going on. Okay, so Pork Chop says, I don't even know who Guru is. Well, that's because you're not tapped into the English-speaking MMA world. But you are tapped in with me, so that's awesome. So, you know what? I'm glad to be your English-speaking, MMA news content creator. So, shout out to you. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And please, also, tell 20 other people that you know personally to do it as well, so you can help out the page. And also, yeah, don't be shy. Drop in some super chats if you guys want, because I would definitely need it. So yeah, man, shout outs to everyone around the world that has tapped in, subscribed, and also, yeah, hit some super chats. Be very generous as much as you want, okay? Because I will make this channel the biggest MMA channel ever, and you guys are gonna love it. So. No man, not different circumstances. He is rich and he should know better. That is a comment from Pork Chop. Skinny Hippo, shout out to you. First time I seen you here. Let me know what part of the world you are from. He says, Raja deserves jail for attempted unaliving. Very interesting. That is the common thing that a lot of people are saying online right now, at least on the white nationalist side of things, right? And maybe even some people that may not understand MMA, but yeah. Empty says, that's what I'm talking about. I was there in the original Guru stream. He runs with the most prejudice and sensational interpretation, and man, did he do that. He did, because you know what? MMA Guru understands the kind of fan base that he has, right? And he has to live up to that. You see, for me, for example, I don't got to live up to anything, right? I have an opinion on certain things, and they may vary, and they're not always going to be consistent with, a certain particular ideology or a certain particular worldview, but that's because I try to be very objective. MMA Guru's whole entire prerogative is not to be objective. It is to say that, all right, you know what, here's a black man that committed a crime. Let's hop on it. Let's jump on him, and that is it, right? So that's kind of what he has going on. Pork Chop says the German saying is, those who will not listen must feel. So the German saying is, those who will not listen must feel. Elaborate on that a little bit. You know what? I think I could interpret that a little bit, right? So Afternoon says the German saying is that those who will not listen must feel. So in other words, if I tell you to not touch the hot stove and you don't listen, then that means you're going to feel the wrath of those consequences. Is that what you mean by that? And please elaborate for me if you can. Thank you, by the way. And by the way, your English is very good, by the way, so shout out to you. Miller says, yeah, Kyrie says the same thing, Empty. Yes, that's me and Empty are in coinciding ideas with that. Afternoon says, everybody knows what they are doing is fake. Well, see, here's the interesting thing about pro wrestling, right? It's fake, and then it's real. And then it's real, and then it's fake. For example, the Bret Hart situation. What happened with Bret Hart? He didn't want to lose his title to Shawn Michaels in Montreal, right? So what did they do? They ended up screwing him by having a false pin and having Shawn Michaels, no, not a false pin, I'm sorry, a false submission, because Shawn Michaels strapped on the sharpshooter on him, and then, you know, made Bret Hart lose because he refused to let go. So Pork Chop says, everybody knows what they are doing is fake. Mr. Burberry says, to you reading German, but decent try, I guess. Okay, yeah. Okay, that was me reading the German stuff. Skinny Hippo says, it's wrestling, not MMA. They didn't tell him to unalive him. Very true. Santi says, I'm the reincarnation of the German painter. Oh no! I remember when I wanted the Soviets to take me, and they were close. Okay, so there's somebody impersonating, the mustache man from Germany in 1940s. Okay, Empty says Raja was not a wrestler. If someone came and hit me with a real beer can, not a prop, as MMA Guru said, then says don't fight him there, get your revenge in the ring. That's what I'm saying, right? So there's a lot of misinterpretations that are going on here. Pork Chop says, Wer's nicht zuhört muss spruhen. I don't know what that means. He attacked him hours after. Okay, so you're basically translating what you're saying. So Empty says, then he tells you to go until you are pulled off of him. What do you expect? Empty says both Stu and Raja were put in a terrible spot for views. Very true. And remember, this is independent wrestling, right? They got to make money somehow. They have to garner attention somehow. And this is one way to do it. And it was a terrible price for the promotion to pay to get all the shine. Yeah, correct. Come on now, really. Come on, are we really arguing that he should hit him 20-something times? Most people have self-control. He let him slam him thinking it was a work. Come on, guys, look at Stu. He's built like a pregnant grandma. Yeah, so look, about that, right? He's a professional wrestler. I understand that he's built a certain way or this and that, but they are made to take pain. But I do agree, they are not made to go out there and be assaulted at, you know, in this kind of fashion. So, all right. Empty says, I think Stu wanted to be punched. I don't think Stu wanted to be punched either. It was others in a promotion that set this up. Very true. Pork Chop says he's not in shape. Come on, he's like 280, 5 foot. I don't know if he's 5 foot. Bro, he was a lot taller than Raja. So, you know, I don't know about all that, right? He definitely was towering over Raja by just a little bit. Not a lot, but enough to show that he is significantly taller than, you know, than Raja. So, let me see here. Okay. So, Empty says, bro, you just said he's rich and he should know better. What planet have you been living on? I guess that is in reference to somebody saying that because he's rich, he should know better, right? I think that's what you were referring to. Afternoon says, Ich bin Rachitz nicht Hasserfult is es Mastergung. Okay. He says, I lived in the United States. I grew up in Germany. I am Florida, USA. Okay, we see a lot of Germans out here in California too, right? There's this German YouTuber by the name of German in Venice Beach. So he does content all about Venice Beach. He's around Venice Beach. In fact, you would probably see him walking around Venice Beach on any random day that you are there. So, yeah, I gave you a like, buddy. Thank you, my man. Thank you. And also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well. And also drop a super chat as well, right? Support the channel, support the cause, and we will give you everything dealing with MMA and the world around it. So not everything is race, but it is pattern recognized. Ah, okay. Very interesting take right there, Pork Chops. So, Empty says they don't know Raja. They just know he's got viewers and he's got connections. They just want the eyes. I think they were trying to push the situation, get a clip. They wanted the seeds of violence. That's very true, my man. That's very true. How are they white nationalists? Who are you talking about? Who is a white nationalist? Let me know who you're talking about. Pork Chop says, dude, you're acting like they burnt a cross on their family's lawn. Ah, okay. Fresh Melon Juice says, Khabib saying Armin will outclass Topuria, 80% chance to win. I may have to agree with Khabib on that, right? I think the wrestling is going to be a factor against Ilia Topuria. Pork Chop, your hood is coming off, bro. Ooh, okay. He says your hood is coming off. Okay, so we got a little fight in the chats going on right now. Yeah, man, I encourage it. I encourage all of you guys to fight in the chats. I'm not one of these MMA content creators say, oh, stop it, you guys. I mean, come on, these are words, you know what I mean? I've seen people get hit, you know, in real life and, you know, and in person and in the ring and outside of the ring. I don't think words, you know, really mean anything. And it's not like any of you guys are going to meet each other anyway. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I absolutely encourage it for the sake of engagement and the sake of, you know, of content. So, yeah, please continue the fight and continue the verbal barrage on each other, and I welcome it. And you are at a channel where I absolutely welcome this in any kind of way. But just remember, keep it clean enough to where it doesn't hit against the YouTube guidelines. So that's something that you just have to be very well aware of. So Afternoon says, yes, you understand the saying. For example, if I say, please don't take my things or call me names, and I finally have had enough and retaliate, don't pretend to be the victim when you earned the reaction. Okay, so he also said what goes around comes around, basically. Empty says, when is it a good idea to not only antagonize, but also put hands on someone you don't know? So that's a very good point, right? You don't know this guy from a can of paint, and then you're over here throwing a can at him, or a prop can, as what MMA Guru says. Empty says, Raja was not in on the bid. Okay, so he was not in on this bid. Instead of reaffirming that it's a kayfabe. And by the way, for those of you that don't know what kayfabe is, it is a pro wrestling term that says that these two guys are working an angle together or acting out an angle. And on the way to the fight, they were telling him to go for blood. Who the F thinks that's a good idea? You're right. So you're bringing up something very important here, which shows the negligence on the side of the promoter, right? This is more on the negligence of the side of the promoter, more than you could say that it is for Raja or the actual wrestlers that were involved. Because, you know, by the end of the day, remember, when it comes to professional wrestling, it is the promoters that has the strings being pulled behind the scenes, and it is the wrestlers that are only taking orders to act upon it. So it's, yeah, it's something to think about. Afternoon says, it's like stealing a kid's bike, then going to the same park. Okay, very interesting analogy here. The next day, the kid takes a sock and rocks in it upside your head. Is it your fault taking his things or him defending himself? Okay, it's a very good point. Very good point there. Listen, you guys make all good points, right? And I'm not here to tell you that I know the answers to this. In fact, I don't, because number one, I don't know Raja from a can of paint. I just know enough about what is being told to me on the internet or what I see out of my own observation from him. I'm not pretending that I know everything about this particular subject. However, there's a lot of people out there that are pretending to know about this subject down to the point where they may, you know, create a lot of mistakes in the information that they're giving out there. So Marty Miller says, I hear you, but there are other variables. Correct. These are things that a lot of low IQ people don't want to really think about. What they just want to think about is say, you know what, Raja is black. He's guilty. That's that. There's all this black fatigue going on. So there's that. So we're just going to go with that. And we're not going to go with the variables of the fact that there's psychology involved. There's also the aspect of the fact that his dad does nothing but berate him, which, by the way, causes a lot of anger with a lot of people in the urban community, right? A lot of their parents, listen, bro, like, people in the urban community, not all, obviously not all, but a good portion of them, man, listen, I'm sorry, but they don't know how to raise kids. And it doesn't matter if they, become millionaires like Rampage Jackson. They really carry a lot of this, insane generational curse with them, right? Like berating your kids. I mean, what is it? How is it a good idea to do that in public? I never understand people that do this, right? So, I mean, look, we can say that Rampage is to blame or this and that, but can you really? You can only blame a portion of what he did, which is berating his kid. You can blame Raja only for this much, for him taking upon the action. And then in reality, the whole entire blame to be taken here is for that wrestling promoter that was given instructions to Raja to get in there in the first place, right? Look, I remember when I went to a wrestling show back in 2011, right? It was a SmackDown event with Cody Rhodes and his dad betraying Rey Mysterio. It was here in Sacramento. I remember a friend of mine, before I went, you know what he told me? He told me, hey, since you're a fighter, why don't you just go and jump in there and, and be part of the show? I'm like, man, I'm not going to do that. I had to explain to him, you know what would happen if I jumped over the rails and tried to be part of the show? They would escort me out because you're not part of the show. You didn't talk to the promoters ahead of time to say that, okay, you're going to jump in and do a bid or this, that, and the other. There was none of that. So when you got Raja going on, when he's being told by the promoter to go in and jump in the ring and beat the living heck out of this guy, I'm sorry, but that all is open to interpretation. Empty says, it's not a fight, it's just communication, all love. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So all one and the same, whether it's a verbal fight or whether it's, a debate, I welcome all of it because I'm just going to be out front and, and be transparent with you. It brings views, it brings engagements, and it brings awareness to my channel. And that's really what I care about in the scheme of things, and I'm not going to make any apologies for that. So that's really all there is to it. Afternoon says, I'm not racist. I've been to prison. I've changed my life for Jesus. My first okay, so he says that his wife was black and some of my kids are half. It's not about race, but come on, guys. So did you go to prison in Florida or in Germany? Let me know on the comment section below. 9090, shout out to you. This is the first time I've seen you here in this channel. Let me know what part of the world you are from, and please hit the like and subscribe button on the description below. So my thoughts on Raja Jackson. Elaborate on that. Please elaborate on what you mean by that. I will elaborate right now, or I will give you my thoughts on Raja Jackson right now. But really, I want you to elaborate on the comment section below just so the engagement can keep going and keep getting higher and higher as, as the views keep piling up. So, yeah, let me know what you mean by that. But I'll tell you my thoughts on Raja Jackson. I think that he's a good kid. I think that his father, Rampage Jackson, has a lot of mistakes in his parenting skills, and one of them is berating your kid in front of everybody in the world, and it is no wonder why he snaps like this in the way that he does, right? So that's kind of, that's kind of the issue here. I also think Rampage is a bit of a narcissistic parent, right? And it's indicative of how he treats his kids, online. So that's something to think about right there. But yeah, I think Raja he's a good kid. It's just that, these are all unfortunate things. Marty Miller says that's what he's talking about, 90. It's fine. You know what? I encourage all the engagements, all one and the same. Mr. Burberry says, y'all leave Pork Chop alone, trolls. Nah, man, it ain't going at him. He's just saying things that he wants to say, which is more than welcome. And, we're engaging upon and piling upon the conversations and ideas that he's contributing to the chat. So, Empty says it's just facts, Burberry. 9090 says the craziest thing, the craziest thing is that the guy apologized and shook his hand, but he still attacked him from behind, which is something you can't defend. Yeah. I'd have to agree with that, 9090. That is a hard thing to defend, considering the fact that, all of that was on tape. And by the way, all of this right here is going to be used in a court of law, and it's only a matter of days before, they catch up to, you know, the homeboy here. So, let's see here. Empty says, I think I had a misinterpretation of one of your messages, Porky. Sorry for the personal comment. Okay. Porky says something here in German. He says, Donkey, Berberi, gibt's ich nicht hart nur Internet Okay, yeah, he'll probably translate that in a second. Empty says 90-90. The apology was accepted on the terms that they would fight in the ring. Yeah, but, you know, the guy's not a fighter, right? Obviously, he's a known pro wrestler, so, you know, it is kind of crazy to, yeah, you know, it's a bit crazy on that. And so Empty says the apology was not accepted until those terms were established. After that, multiple people from the promotion were telling him to go full force and even to go until the ref stops it. Nick Fuentes. Look at this. Not the real Nick Fuentes, obviously, but Nick Fuentes says, or maybe Nick Fuentes is just your name and not correlated to the famous white nationalist Nick Fuentes. But Raja's crime was caught on camera. Nothing can be said to justify his actions. If you do, you're coping or you're a sociopath. You know what? You may be right in some instances, Nick, but then there's also other complicated matters that sort of go along with that. Fresh Melon Juice says, at Empty, there's a video of Raja saying he will go off script and beat him for real. Okay, so that's interesting right there. I'm Not Real says, bro, he's 25 years old. He's not a kid. Shout out to I'm Not Reals. Let me know what part of the world you are from, I'm Not Reals. And yeah, let me know what part of the world you're from. Never seen you here before, but welcome all the same. Scott, shout out to Scott, a new person I haven't seen here before. Shout out to you. Scott says, low IQ people say the same person who is a self-proclaimed intellectual. How you going to defend him? He apologized and said he was part of the act. Raja said it's cool and shook his hand. So, okay, Scott says, low IQ people says the same person who is a self-proclaimed intellectual. Low IQ people say the same person who is... Yeah, you're going to have to kind of elaborate on the grammar a little bit, but I think I know what you mean. But please elaborate furthermore on the comment section below. How you going to defend him? He apologized and said that he thought he was part of the act. Raja said it's cool. Raja said it's cool. I get it. Shook his hands. Okay, so I'm going to pin that comment, okay, because it's a very important comment to address, right? Okay, Scott, there's two ways you can look at the world. In fact, there's two ways that I do look at the world, right? There's a mature way of looking at the world, which, by the way, encompasses everything that you have to tackle as an adult, right? All the things that you have to go through, all the things and the obligations that you have to face as an adult, right? And then the responsible acts that you have to commit as an adult. That's one aspect of it. However, there's another element that doesn't really give consideration to maturity in any kind of way. A lot of that is within the honor culture system. Now, look, I don't advise everybody to live within the honor culture system. Okay, that's your right to not live that way, but it is also your right to want to live that way. And what do I mean by honor culture? Look, I'm not the type of person that takes disrespect, lightly. I don't know if you guys notice that, right? The minute you disrespect me, I'm going to break you down in your lowest common denominator and make sure that you're going to eat your words and make sure that you're going to pay for everything that you said. That's just how I roll. Now, look, you don't have to roll like that. There's other people that don't roll like that. I got different homies that don't roll like that, but then I got homies that definitely do roll like that, and I don't judge them off of their actions based on one way or the other. Now, when it comes to Raja, do I think that what he did was very stupid? Yes, and let me explain to you in the most explicit reasons why I think it's stupid what he did. If I really wanted to attack this man, let's say I was Raja, right, and I wanted to attack this man for what he did, this is what I would have done. I'm telling you what I would have done if I was Raja. What I would have done was play along. All right, the promoter wants us to do a pro wrestling bid. I'm going to do my pro wrestling bid in the ring. But guess what? When the cameras are off and nobody is looking, I'm going to call 10 to 20 homies pulling up, and we're going to go and do something to you because I don't like what you did. That's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it out of the camera. I'm going to do it in a place where there's nobody around. That's just what you do if you really are, about that life. And unfortunately, Raja, look, he's Rampage's kid. He can say that he's about that life, and nobody's doubting him. Nobody's doubting his bravery or his propensity or proclivity to act in a violent manner. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that he's going to act in a violent manner that is smart and methodical, which is the reason why he got himself into this situation. So in other words, if you really feel wrongly, done to, here's two things that you got to do. Get off where you're mad at. Okay, that's a common term that we use in California, right? Get off where you're mad at. What exactly does that mean? The minute you say something disrespectful to me, or the minute that you do something that I don't like, or something that I deem that is against me in any kind of way, man, I'm going to get off on you in a minute that it's happening right there. I'm not going to have a delayed reaction about that. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to have a serious self-conscious about having a delayed reaction of somebody humiliating me or talking down to me in any kind of way. There is no way that's going to happen. And you know what? If Raja punched him while he threw that can at him, guess what? It would have been justified, and there would have been no laws in court anywhere in the world that would have convicted Raja. But the fact that he decided to act upon it on live camera later after the fact is the reason why he's in this mess in the first place. So I need you guys to understand that, right? There's two schools of thought that we're looking at this, right? We're looking at this from a civilian point of view, meaning that, all right, you know what? I don't like what you did, but I'm going to be mature and I'm going to, act as an adult about it. That's completely fine. The other side of it is I'm going to go the gangster route, and I'm never going to let anyone disrespect me in any kind of way. But in reality, let's be real about this too, though, right? The guy didn't disrespect him. Let's be honest. That's also another thing that you guys have to understand. And again, this is a very complicated matter, right? This is why low IQ people should not be doing this story. And you know what? Here's another thing. A lot of you guys that are doing videos on this particular topic, it's crazy that you're actually putting out the actual video of him beating on this guy, because your videos are going to get flagged for being too violent. Okay, those are not violent actions done in the ring or in the cage or in a sanctioned setting, which is recognized by YouTube. It was a violent act that was done on camera in a non-sanctioned situation, which, i.e., translates to assault. Okay, so, yeah, I think, I don't think that's a very smart way of going about it. But again, I don't think the people that are talking about this are giving you the full nuanced details of these situations. Definitely not MMA Guru. Okay, MMA Guru thinks like a child. He is really no different than Raja in this sense, except that he appeases, the white nationalist side of things. So that's that. Okay, so Empty says, I don't know if any of you train, but you're going until the ref pulls you off is a standard operating procedure. That's also a good point, right? Because the promoter did tell him to go off on him until the referee came in there, but it wasn't even the referee that did it. It was the other wrestlers that were involved in the match. By the way, did you guys know that he got pinned right after Raja did that? So I think maybe that's why the referee was not there. Because you know how it is, right? In the pro wrestling world, when the referee is laid out, they pretend like, oh, they didn't see anything or this and that. Next thing you know, the guy gets knocked out, and then, the other opponent is pinning him, and then the referee just has to count and doesn't know what's going on, right? Low IQ take from this talking head. Yeah, look, you only say that because you have a different perspective and a different worldview than I do. Now, what is it that I said that is really no different than anybody else that said this was wrong in all levels? He should have gotten off on him when he was already thrown a can at, right? Because that was the perfect time to, defend yourself in terms of the court of law and saying that it was self-defense, right? And then I'm also giving you the other aspect of, the street culture and how this is interpreted. How is that you know, how is that a low IQ take? Nick Fuentes, the fake Nick Fuentes, who, by the way, you know, has literally no activity in his channel whatsoever. So, I mean, listen, you're a talking head yourself. In reality, you're a talking head that nobody listens to. So that's that. Pork Chop says, did you understand Burberry? 9090 says, at empty, are you brainless? It's not an MMA match. It's a pro wrestling match, which is supposed to be fake. That's also true. You see, and this is what I'm saying. I agree with those takes. So Nick Fuentes, I don't even know why you're saying that, like, I'm taking one position over another. You know, obviously, look, I would have done things differently, but I'm not in that situation with Raja. But at the same time, I also understand why he did what he did. Empty says the first representative of the Confederacy of Dunce has arrived. Oh man. Empty says 9090. They told Raja, a real fighter, to hit Stu for real. And that has happened before. Remember when Mayweather hit Big Show with some combinations and made him bleed, right? Big Show was on his knees pretending that, like, oh, you know what, Mayweather can't hurt me or this and that. Man, he allowed Mayweather to do it and they agreed to do it backstage. So these things do happen. Moldy Cheese says, racism on Raja Jackson? A little bit. I would say a little bit. I'm not saying that, look, let me just say this, right? The vast majority of people that are piling on Raja is not so much of the act that he did, but because of who he is. Okay, let me repeat that again. The piling for Raja is not so much of the act that he did, but more so of who he is. So I need you to remember that. Afternoon says, in Florida, I was young, stupid things. It was in the early 2000s when steroids was far more. Oh, okay. So you got, you basically got locked up for steroids. Okay, very interesting. Nick Fuentes says they gave him a receipt, which means payback with an equal strike during the match, not 21. There is no point where you should take a small beef to the level of trying to unalive someone. And then Mr. Burberry is saying something here in German. Nick Fuentes says, regardless of what you're going to say, he is guilty and should do jail time. Okay, so I'm going to pin your comment right there, Nick Fuentes. Okay, now, even though I didn't like some of the things that you said earlier, I'm very fair and objective on these particular matters. You want to know why? Because I have a thing called emotional intelligence. Okay, and that means that I'm not going to let my emotions override the reality of what is going on. So you're right. He could possibly face jail time, but guess what? It is predicated on the police. It is predicated on Stu and what he wants to do in this situation, and that's really that. Mr. Burberry says, bin gradi bien essen. Okay, a little bit of German, don't understand that. Moldy Cheese says, what racism we talking about? The reaction that they have towards homeboy here, you know, Rampage Jackson's son. You know, there's a lot of that going on here. Right, empty, haha. How much longer do we wait until he's mature, almost 30? Well, you know what? At 25, it is almost no excuse, right? Because 25 is the age that you develop your frontal cortex, and, you know, it is permanently going to be the way that it is in your personality. So, Empty says the Diaz brothers would have marked Stu in the alley with their boys after the show. Exactly. So there you go. Now you understand the Stockton way, right? That's what should have been done, right? If you wanted to go murk this dude, you know, do it after. That's just what it is. That's what you do, right? You don't do certain things in front of the camera, you know, but, you know, sometimes, unfortunately, they do get caught up in camera, and that's just what it is. 9090 says, calling homies to defend you is not exactly the most honorable thing unless it's a group of people who disrespected your brother. Okay. Empty says 9090, that's why you roll with homies. Okay, and then more German here. By the way, thank you for not only writing in German, but also writing in English. Yeah, keep the comments going. When I was a young man, fought on the spot when the chat told you to. It wasn't about respect. It was about proving a point. All one and the same, right? Proving a point, trying to earn respect. I think those are two things that are one and the same. 90-90, that's some suburban worldview. In reality, people have homies and will check you when they catch you lacking. All right, so I'm going to pin that comment right there. That is true, right? The comment that he said in 90-90. That is some suburban worldview. That is true. In reality, people have homies and will check you when they catch you lacking. That's really what it is. Pork Chop says Nick or Nate would not have snuck him either. I don't know about that, man. You know what? Nick and Nate have jumped Jason Mayhem Miller, you know, before, right after a Jake Shields fight. So I don't know about all that. Pork Chop says, I don't know, I'm old and never needed my friends to help fight. If you jump me, I'm going to come back with rocks in a socks. Okay. Empty says, the Diaz brothers come in numbers. How many clips of the bros need their homies are always ready to jump off? That's true. They always, yeah, the Diaz brothers definitely always come in groups, man. You know what I mean? Far more so than Khabib and, you know, and his crew, and far more so than Conor and his crew, I would say. Fresh Melon Juice says, the wrestler didn't step into Raja's gym. Raja stepped into the wrestler's green room where everybody are wrestlers and act accordingly. Raja's rules don't matter in there. Oh, man. You know what? They were not in the ring performing, though, right? Stu jumped into conclusion that, all right, here's this kid with a camera crew. You know, maybe I could, you know, F with him in the way that everybody does with I Show Speed or something like that. T Swizz says, I don't see the big deal. The ref never stepped in. Raja kept going. So what? Okay, so I'm going to pin that comment right there, T Swizz. Let me know what part of the world you are from, my man. There's a clip that showed Stu getting pinned after the match. Okay? So what that means is that the referee had to be knocked out in order for that pin to happen, because otherwise the interference would have been counted as a no disqualification. And all those that understand wrestling know exactly what I'm talking about. You know how it is. Every wrestling pay-per-view or every wrestling show, a referee gets knocked out. After the referee gets knocked out, what happens? The bad guys come in, they try to beat on the good guy, and then, you know, the good guy gets knocked out by the bad guy's entourage, and then next thing you know, the referee miraculously wakes up and he's counting to 1, 2, 3 on that knocked out fighter. So, Pork Chop says, I have trained wrestling and coached for over 30 years. A different mindset. Okay. Pork Chop says, the ref was a prop. Yes, that's what it is. These referees are facilitators of the match. They're not like real combat sports referees, so that's a good point. Not a real ref like the UFC, man. That's very true. Empty says, Porky, or roll the quarters the bougie way to bust up a dude. Empty says, Fresh Melon Juice, it's not like there's a sign walking in there and says really doesn't apply here. Empty says, there should have been a lot more communication regarding the event. Correct. And you know what? This is one of the things I specialize in, right, is communication, right? If I was the promoter, I would say to Raja, all right, listen, we're going to get a get back, right? They were banking on the fact that he was going to wild out, and indeed they did, and they didn't know to what extent he was going to wild out, and that's the unfortunate reality of this. Empty says there should have been a lot more communication regarding the event. You can't just introduce yourself with a beer can to the head. That is also a good point. This is why this situation is very complicated, and you need real high IQ people to really decipher this. Yadnik says, I don't get the title. What's the racism thing? Well, it obviously attracted you to be in here, right? So, of course, I'm going to write that. I make no bones about it. I make these titles and these headlines for a reason, because I know that it's provocative. And you know what? Some of this provocation has some realness to it. Most of you that are against Raja, okay, I understand there's a human aspect of it, but then there's also a racial aspect of it. And I think many of you hate the fact that he's a rich black kid whose dad is a legend. I think that has a lot to do with it. Yadnik says, I think it's just to get more clicks of a debate. Correct. Correct. See, Pork Chop understands the game. Empty says it's a fair debate, to be honest. Honestly surprised. Christopher said, I had anger issues like Raja when I was younger. I used to fight a lot, but it got under control. I'm 25 too. Shout out to you, Christopher. I'm going to pin your comment right there for, living a much more mature and much more reasonable way of living, right? Especially at 25 years old. So shout out to you and those great decisions that you made in your life. Shout out to you, man. By the way, Christopher, let me know what part of the world you are from, brother. Pork Chop says he did it on camera to prove a point to the internet, has been making fun of Raja for days because of the head kick. That's also a very important point. Mario Dillion, shout out to you, my man. He says, for all we know, Stu might say it was a work. That's what I'm saying, right? So that's why there's been no arrests going on right now. There hasn't been any, any of those things going on because they just don't know what is happening yet. So yeah, Christopher said he just saw red and he was in there. They shouldn't have let him in there. Very true. 66 Attil66 says, what are you trying? You sweet talking Raj's behavior? I'm not sweet talking Raj's behavior in any way. I'm trying to explain to you guys that there are different people in this world that will not tolerate disrespect, and you don't know what disrespect is to some people, right? Now, for example, if you have a certain type of banner that you have with your homies, right? Let's say you and your homies are the type of people to, I don't know, pull each other's underwears up. You know that little thing that they did in the 90s with the bullies? They'll pull your pants up or something like that, right? And then they think that's funny. Okay, whatever. This is something you and your homies do. Bro, if you touch my trousers in any kind of way, I'm going to fire off on you, and I don't care if it's a joke or not, bro. I don't live with, stupid jokes like this, and I'm not going to tolerate it, right? So you don't know who you're dealing with. I'm never going to deal with anybody in that kind of way where I'm going to pull pranks on you and I don't know you from a can of paint. I'm never going to do that because I don't know how you're going to react. I don't know how you're going to behave. And we're not even close like that for me to know if that's even appropriate for me to do. And even with my close ones, I don't do none of that. And unfortunately, look, here's the thing, right? A lot of these jokes that you guys do that you call harmless or whatever. I mean, look, let's just be honest about this, right? This is a white boy thing, okay? In all honesty, it's a white boy thing. It's not something that, black guys do. It's not something that, most hood Mexican or Hispanics do, or hood Asians or Asians period do, or Arabs do, especially not Arabs. It's just not something that we do. We don't joke around about these types of things. Now, do other people joke about it? That's fine. But you have to know where you're at. You have to know the cultural setting and what is appropriate for one person or another. And if you don't, well, situations like this arise. Now, Stu, I'm sure he means well. I have no hate for this guy whatsoever. I also don't have any hate for Raja whatsoever. I just think that they are two guys that were caught up in a miscommunication. And if you think this was anything else other than that, then you're low IQ. But for those of you that understand, it seems that a lot of you understand. So shout out to everybody that has a high IQ and understands this. So it's great to know that I have an audience that has a high IQ that understands this and that is not going off of just their emotions and whatever it is that they want to garner off of this, opportunity of, politicalizations of this news clip. So Altacan says, okay, so Empty says, Altacan, we're having a discussion. Correct. And that's what we do, is just having a discussion on something that is filled with a lot of nuances. 66 says, doesn't sound like a discussion, sounds like a sweet talking the indefensible. Well, this is your worldview, right? Your worldview is that this is indefensible. But there are many people out there that come from a world where the minute you disrespect me in any kind of way, I'm going to get back at you. So, that's fine, right? If you don't want to be around people that live in an honor culture, i.e. you don't want to be around thugs or gangsters or this and that, or people that behave in that kind of manner, then I'm sorry to say, maybe you need to get out of combat sports, period. I don't think you guys understand this, but combat sports is filled with people that are gangsters, dictators, and world leaders that have war crimes behind them. And I'm not going to mention which one or the other does what, but you guys know what I'm talking about. This is the kind of sport that you are in, right? Now, the professional wrestling world is a little bit different. And I'm going to tell you why it's a little bit different, right? Eric Trilogy, a guy who I trained with in Team Alpha Male, right? Who is now Logan and Jake Paul's nutritionist, right? I talk to him till this day. We have phone conversations. We have messenger conversations. You know, he calls me. I call him. You know, especially when he has some online beef going on. Boy, he loves telling me about that stuff. But another thing he told me, and what I asked him was, Eric, what is the difference between working with a WWE superstar versus working with a UFC star? Because he's worked with all of them, right? He said to me, WWE fans are a lot more chill than UFC fans. He says that UFC fans are always trying to prove that they can beat people up and fight people and this, that, and the other. And me, yours truly, is no different from that trajectory, right? So that is the two different cultures that we're dealing with. When you're dealing with an MMA guy and you knew that he was an MMA guy, or maybe you didn't know he was an MMA guy, so why even bother with a guy that you don't know him from a can of paint? So Pork Chop says, Jordan's kids don't do this. Yeah, but you know what Jordan's kids do? They also do coke, and I urge you to look it up, right? They are big-time coke heads, so let's not even go there with Jordan's kids as, you know, role model, you know, black children of celebrities, right? Like, that's, yeah, that is not this. Empty says, Alkaline, jump in. Why do you feel so convinced? Pork Chop says LeBron's kids never in the wrong headlines. That's true, man. Shout out to LeBron. You know, regardless of the criticisms that you have for LeBron, you know, the Diddy parties, you know, the fact that he played the nepotism game with bringing his son into the Lakers, this, that, and the other. The one thing that I can say about LeBron James is, yeah, you're right. He's never been in these types of situations and scandals. So shout out to him. Empty says, Porky, rich kids are always doing dumb stuff. Poor kids too. That's true. It's not indicative of one section or another of, you know. Alkaline says, Empty, did you see the vid? Man got influenced by his chat. Arrow says, I watched all the Rampage streams where his kid was there. He was very calm. He just made a big mistake. Empty says, mostly they are able to get in front with money, but this was on stream. Luckily, it led up. Luckily, the lead up was too. Yeah. So from what I understand, he is now banned from stream. So Empty says if the lead up wasn't filmed in full, he probably would have been arrested. Bauman says live sentence. Live sentence? What do you mean by that? Is there something going on with him that that we need to know about, or is there any arrest that has already happened? Let me know if there's any updates on that. Afternoon says, I'm only saying that Empty because he said people hate because he's rich and black. Yeah, I don't know if they hate him because he's rich and black. I mean, but being black and then having a father who is a legend, I think, you know, I don't think you're going to have it easy online, right? I mean, you just look at the sons of, you know, famous boxers in the UK. Look at how they treated Chris Eubank, Conor Benn, even Ricky Hatton's son, Campbell Hatton, right? And, you know, the list goes on. Prince Nassim Hamed's son. So, let's see. This guy is also the problem. The same way you're thinking got Raja in this situation. The same way you're thinking got Raja in this situation. Well, look, this is what I mean, right? So you're basically saying that I'm the problem because of, you know, these types of ideas. Bro, listen, I would not act in that kind of matter if I was put in that situation. There's no way I would act in that kind of matter, right? Because there's a lot of implications involved that could, you know, get you in trouble with the law. So why do that? But Raja is his own man, and we're merely explaining why he's acting the way that he does. Empty says, big ups to you, Kyrie. Most people could not consider both sides of the situation. They pick a side based on someone else's opinion and go full pile on. Thank you, Empty. I'm going to pin that comment right there because that is true. I need you guys to read what Empty said about me right here. He says, big ups to you, Kyrie. Most people could not consider both sides of a situation. They pick a side based off of someone else's opinion and go full pile on. You want to know what else is funny about this? I get boxed into one idea over the other. Oh, well, you're against Raja or you're for Raja. I think more people are sort of, leaning towards me being for Raja more than anything. But there's the other side of that, too. I'm merely giving you guys the full objective point of view of this matter with no biasness, while also giving you my own biasness and how I would deal with the situation as well. And I think that's a pretty reasonable way of going about it. Rick and Morty says, everybody rages. Correct. Mario DeLeon says, haha, so true. Haha. Ricky Morty says, bro went off script for F's sakes. Rick and Morty says, if Sean Strickland got 6 months of suspension, so should Raja. The difference is that Sean Strickland did that at an MMA event in which the MMA commissions, the boxing commissions have jurisdiction. In pro wrestling, there is no combat sports jurisdiction, so it's open to interpretation how they want to do it. Arrow says, Raja has already accepted the apology, but the chat later on him was egging him on, so once again, he may have felt pressed. G says, communication, they made up right after the can smash and everything seemed fine. He is willing and went in knowing he was going to hurt him until someone intervened. Empty says, I mean, it's definitely part of it. You can't separate from him. Some people will hate based on either or both of those factors. That's real. If it is, it doesn't play into your judgment. I respect that. Empty says, at Rick and Morty, the script that they gave him before the fight was to hit him for real until the ref pulls you off. So a little bit of a problem with that. The ref was knocked out, indicative of the fact that Stu got pinned after the beatdown. And that's all on video as well. Raja accepted that he'd be able to get the wrestler back, but they never made up. Skull Agger, shout out to you, bro. Are you serious? You seriously trying to defend this guy? Yeah, Skuller Agger, because you know what? I think I don't know what part of the world you live in. I mean, look, everyone has a different, way of interpreting things, right? Now, Mario DeLeon here says, honor culture is martial arts, and exactly what it is, man. That's exactly what it is. You know what? There's this guy, I don't want to mention his name, right? But, I got into, a little bit of a beef with this guy, right? But let's just say that, the whole entire Sacramento community knows who we are, right? I basically punked this guy in front of the MMA world. I punked him in front of, Sacramento street dudes. And whatever notion that he has about, being a tough guy or being a trained fighter or this, that, or the other, or being a thug, all of that was absolutely, washed away by me and humiliated him in front of everybody because, you know why? He didn't answer to the honor culture. When somebody calls you out, you better answer, regardless of what you got going on, regardless if you're going to risk this, that, or the other. Otherwise, you're not really about that life. And everybody wants to claim that they're about this life, but yet, we'll say, oh, well, I didn't want to risk it for the biscuit or this or that. Then you're not about that life. Stop trying to say that you're a gangster when you're afraid to, go to prison or you're afraid to take the consequences. That's just really what it is. Bot number 1 says, black people aren't DOGs, bro. They can still know the difference between right and wrong. Well, your grammar seems to be a little bit off right now. You're saying no with an N-O. Why don't you write no as in K-N-W-O? But just a little reference for you, okay? The difference between right and wrong. You guys are acting like if you're black, you have different rules. That is racist in and of itself. So, yeah, unfortunately, bot number 1, if you don't understand, people do have different set of rules and in different cultures, and that's just really what it comes down to. right? Like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, like, do you think that everybody in the world lives in this, suburban white, worldview? I don't know, man. Ivan Ramirez, shout out to you. This is the first time I've seen you, my man. Let me know what part of the world you are from. Ivan Ramirez, you are very much welcome here. Ivan Ramirez says, the white boy had it coming. You know what? I don't know if I agree with that, right? Like, I don't think the white boy meant any harm, right? But it did offend, Raja in some kind of way. And to be honest with you, I would not go and offend Raja in that kind of way. I don't know him from a can of paint. Whether I was a wrestler or not, I would ask him, hey, listen, are you here to do a work or this and that? I mean, I just wouldn't jump to a conclusion, but maybe the response was a little too much. So let's see here. Rick and Morty says the cowboy wrestler hyped Raja almost as if whooping was warranted. Empty says at Arrow, the apology was accepted after they said they'd fight in a ring. While things were hot, then they kept telling him to go hard. I mean, that's a very good point right there. And that's a point that a lot of people are missing here. Rick and Morty says the cowboy wrestler guy even said that he'd help Raja in the beer can wrestler tipped him on during the receipt. Empty says exactly. Fresh Melon Juice says, if honor culture is a martial art, maybe that's why none is from the Western world. If honor culture is a martial art, maybe that's why none is from the Western world. A very good point. Empty says, Rick and Morty, those clips are conveniently withheld from almost every video. Very interesting. Okay. I didn't know they were withheld. They hyped Raja up, and it seemed okay to get revenge. Raja is not a monster. Empty says, Fresh Melon Juice, honor culture countries rule martial arts right now. What's your point? Very good point. Fresh Melon Juice says, law and order belong to the Western world. G says, yeah, I don't know why this guy can't read and keep... I don't know why this guy can't read and keeps yapping. Raja should be in jail for... there is no other way of interpreting it. It's an honor... It's no honor in smashing a beer can to the head. Raja is a public figure and was concussed on the stream during the sparring days before. If they knew who Raja was, they went viral recently for the concussed. So G says there's no excuse. He almost effing killed this man and lost control of his emotions. In short, he is a danger to society. James Gomez says 2 to 3 years in Dagestan and forget. Marty Miller says if Raja wouldn't have gotten a brain bleed from the can smash. That's true. But, I mean, MMA Guru proclaims that it was a fake one. That wouldn't have been different, but you're going off of what it is. That didn't happen. Raja lost control of his emotions and almost unalived someone. All right, so okay, so all right, so man, we just caught up with the comments right now. Okay, so if Raja would have gotten that would have been different, but you're going off. That didn't happen. Raja lost his emotions and almost ended someone. Alexander Ganem, shout out to you. Raja's dad has been calling him a bitch and bullying him for years. His chat is also a bad influence. I think he should have been banned from streaming and gets some good... Yeah, he's off of Kick now, right? The Kick stream, basically kicked him out. So, Empty says, in my culture, you do not call yourself that. I'm not going to call you by your username, Kirby Man. Okay. God says, okay, that's fine. Marty Miller says, I didn't say anything. Empty says, but if you want confirmation for your bias, Guru is the man for you. If you want to have a discussion of facts, it's happening right here, right now. Yes, that is very true, Empty, right? God says, you're talking to me right now. Rick and Morty says, free Raja, frat boys fight like dogs all the time. There it is, man. There it is. So let's wow, man. Kirby, man, yeah. So, wow, man, yeah, we went like almost like 2 hours, almost 3 hours now, just reading the whole entire chat, man. Everybody is really on fire with the chats here today. So God says there is no biases here. Raja lost control and went wild. God says, what do you guys not understand? This is a very complicated matter, okay? By the way, I can't call you by your screen name. I'm calling you G, by the way. So, yeah, just, look, it's a very complicated matter, and it could go either way. That's why this is a highly contested, subject. So, Empty says, so introduce yourself to people with a beer can to the head and nothing happens. This is what I'm saying, Empty, right? That's a very good point. Fresh Melon Juice says it's not complicated, law and order. Well, you know what? This is what I mean, right? You have your own cultural interpretation of the world, and some people have a different cultural interpretation of how they go about things. Bot number 1 says Empty. No, you swing on them now. You don't plan an attempted unaliving. There's some truth to that. There is some truth to that. So, Morty says, if Raja just didn't RKO out of nowhere style, it would have been worse. They told him to get back in blood. Empty says, then they tell you you're going to be able to hit a guy in the ring until you're pulled off. You have no wrestling training, by the way. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Keone Hiller, shout out to you, my man. Shout out to you, long-time follower of the page here. Shout out to you. Wow, man. So we got everybody up in here right now. Let's see. So, since we got this far, let me see if I can, the cowboy wrestler told him, get it back. What the F are you talking about? Yeah, man. So once again, making this situation a whole lot more complicated than what it really is. Best Melon Juice, the interpretation of law and order offloads all the authorities to government. In the real world, people would have the right to defend their honor and honor of their wives and children and families. Human Maid says, let's not forget Raj's sparring partner a couple of days before the incident left him badly hurt and concussed. That's a very good point. Bot number 1 says, you guys have never been in a fight. The difference between 1 punch and 22 unanswered head strikes is a major difference. Okay. That is life-changing damage. Is Raja too dumb to not understand that? Well, but you're definitely right about that. But there's a lot of young fighters that don't understand the consequences of the fight game. And that is the reason why they are able to operate at a young age and continue on without really thinking about these consequences. So if they're not going to think that about themselves, they're not going to think about that to people that they are doing that to. So G says he was a fake wrestling. He was at a fake wrestling event where he was told he is going to do a stunt and his payback, but Raja straight up said he was going to keep going until he gets pulled off and stop. Empty says he told him to do that. Just wait. Bellman Hayes. No, they didn't. Empty says, did you watch the cowboy dude say to back him up? They told him to go until you pull off. If anything, charge him for the strikes after they tried pulling him off. God says, nobody told him to almost unalive the man. Marty says, no one told him to knock him out with a slam and then hit him 22 times. LOL. Very good point. Mario DeLeon says, I've been in a kickboxing fight, buddy. Shout out to you, my man, for that. Fresh Melon Juice says, Empty. What Raja did is zero defense. You really are. Marty Miller says, and I'm someone that can see Raja's side. Yeah, man. That's all we're offering is, you know what? We feel bad for Stu, right? I'm sure Stu is a very good guy. I'm sure if Stu was an MMA fan, he would be in here with us, talking MMA and, and have all types of discussions about MMA and pro wrestling. So, G says, like they are fake wrestling event. Read the room. Nobody is getting hurt. Mr. Burberry, all this is redundant. Empty says, Marty Miller, nobody told him that he'd be greeted with a beer can to the head. Very true. Rick and Morty says, receipts are real strikes. Balman Haya says, if justice not prevented, I am going to do my own thing. What? Explain what that is, man. Well, actually don't, man. I'm not here to, get anybody caught up. But, man, you need to watch what you say on the internet, homie. Empty says, if somebody did that to you and you don't, and you don't floor, then my estimation of you as a man will plummet. Ah, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that is kind of how it's viewed in the hood too, right? Once somebody touches you in some kind of way, you're like, oh man, you better get off on that dude. They knew he'd get him back, just not bad. Marty Miller says, yes, so he should have addressed it right there when it happened. That's what I'm saying, right? Get off where you're mad at. Empty says, I just want to know what you're saying, Balman, effing my ass off. Bot number 1 says, Empty, you are chatting on a live chat. You ain't no man. Oh, man. JCG says, Raja has mental issues that needs to be addressed because he was way out of line for his actions. Yeah. And you know what, guys? With that in mind, you know what? Let's see here. They stopped him and said, give him with receipts in the ring. Guys should have gotten off right there. Ganem says, someone in the chat said, if there is no justice, he is going to do his own thing. Yeah, I didn't hear or read anything, so I don't know about all that, right? But, it's the online world. Anybody can say anything, and, it doesn't necessarily mean it's indicative of anything real. So Mario says, bot 1, I've been in a kickboxing sanctioned fight, okay? Empty says, you see, that's what they do on the internet, though. Too many people used to saying things with no consequences. Very true. Empty says, they are shocked and scared when they see consequences. Human Maid says, will they revoke Raj's license from fighting? They would have done it already, but they haven't. Because remember, what's the difference between Sean Strickland is that he did it at an MMA event where he is under the jurisdiction of the Athletic State Commission. Wrestling has no Athletic State Commission whatsoever. So, something to think about. He planned to hurt him and did it while he was unconscious. Ah, okay. Yeah, about that. Yeah, he planned to hurt him while he was unconscious. Okay. Yeah, here's the thing, right? A slam doesn't really knock you out unconscious, not all the time, right? I know that, no pun intended, Rampage Jackson did that to Arona in Pride FC. I know that was a thing, but my goodness, man, nobody really expected that to happen in this particular setting. So he was knocked out from the slam, bro. Okay, so that's confirmed. Because look, I've been slammed plenty of times during grappling practice, wrestling practice, this, that, and the other. I mean, it didn't knock me out. I've slammed a few guys. It didn't knock them out. It really is, dependent on each person in the circumstance. So, number 1 says, Roger did all that just to be slammed every night in prison. He's sus for that. Roger, you mean Raja? Okay, I think you're calling him Roger. But yeah, if you want to talk consequences, yes, maybe the wrestler had it coming, but not Raja has a whole lot more coming. Yeah, about that. Raja has mental issues and needs to be addressed because he is way out of line for his actions. G says, even a slam didn't knock him out. He said that even a slam didn't knock him out. He kept going. Marty Miller says, I hear you, but it knocked him out. Okay, so if it knocked him out, that's confirmed. I'm not going to argue with that. That is the truth. G says that stuff doesn't even happen in a sanctioned match. What doesn't? Getting knocked out for a slam? Let me know. Sir Jacob Fitzgerald. Shout out to Sir Jacob Fitzgerald. I like your name. Very English, by the way. Let me know what part of the world you are from. Sir Jacob Fitzgerald says, Raja gonna be giving up them cheeks to Big Bubba. Okay, so Empty says that's the other thing. The same dude that calls him Roger is over here fantasizing about dudes in prison. Dang. All right, man. Shout out to Empty. Man, Empty, let me know what part of the world you're from, man. Empty says, this is your mindset on the internet. Thomas Given says, people are always saying the promotion will be held liable before Raja will be. I don't know how true that is. Let me tell you, man, the controversy that is surrounding this, the fact that it is so polarizing, and the fact that everyone has different ideas and opinions on it, and by the way, not just different opinions and ideas, but also many law and order jargons that they're throwing at this, which a lot of them are true, is going to make this a very complicated case. Now, I'm going to end it with this, right? I'm going to end the last 10 minutes with this, right? Rampage Jackson's team right now is working hard around the clock to either do two things: settlement, or find out what is the least possible prison time that he can get, or how they can prove him innocent. That is what they are doing right now. Empty says, my family is from Iran, but I live in the United States. Shout out to you, my man. Let me know what part of the United States you are from. Human Made says, even the slam didn't KO Crazy Stu. The follow-up ground and pound shots would have done no less. Okay, so maybe the slam is not what did it, but after taking a couple of those shots, maybe it knocked him out. Because after you get slammed in wrestling, you have to pretend that you're laid out in some kind of way, right? So G says, what are you talking about, dude? I don't know what's that in reference to. Mario De Leon says, yeah, the promotion in legal heat, for sure. Bot number 1 says, empty, do not see how he went too far. I understand your argument that he did it, but do you not see the extreme disproportionate level of violence, or does that not bother you? You know what? That's a good point. I'm going to pin that comment right there, bot number 1. That's a very good comment. G says, it's honestly sad you think this way, though. Number 1 says, the same guy calling him Roger is the same one slamming Roger every night in prison. Dang. Okay. Human Mate says, I'm sorry, Kyrie. Even the slam didn't KO Crazy Stu. Those ground and pound would have definitely done the damage. Okay, so that makes sense, right? They slam him. Okay, maybe that knocked him out. Maybe it didn't. I can't argue that either way. I'm going to have to rewatch the video again, but for sure, after the follow-up shots, yeah, that will damage you. Seahorse says he made wrestling great again. You know what? This definitely gives a lot of hype towards wrestling, and not just WWE, obviously the indie scenes, because you know what? The indie scenes are the unsung heroes of pro wrestling. We always think about AEW, WWE, but in reality, it all starts within these regional promotions, and maybe this will help bring a push to give regional support for local talent. Thomas Given says, if Raja went to a doctor where he was medically concussed, would that help in a defense against him? Yes, he could plead insanity. I personally think it was heinous. However, there's a lot to this. You're definitely right about that. There is a lot to this, and you just piled on another fact that I think is really important to understand, right? So, do I think he went too far? Empty says, yes. Do I think the facts are misreported? Yes. Do I think the common narrative represents the facts? Absolutely not. Okay, so Empty says he went far as the promotions told him to go. Was that too far? Yes. Bot says, okay, I understand where you are coming from now, Empty, and I understand where you are coming from. Empty says, however, there is another side that exists beyond the situation. You don't provoke humans, especially those trained in combat. Bro, this is what I'm saying, right? There's two types of people that I never provoke, and I've been around these two types of people. I never provoke gangsters, people that are known to have a reputation, right? Unless that I absolutely have to, and that I'm in a conflict and war with them where I have no choice. And then the other side of that are MMA fighters, and if you train yourself, obviously, you're in gyms, you're with other people, you know that there's other killers there, even if you are a killer yourself. So yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to that. Number 1 says, as a licensed lawyer myself, shout out to number 1 here, man. Let me know what part of the world you're from and where you practice law. I can certainly say that Roger will be put under jail. Damn, and you know what? You heard it from a lawyer right there, man. Let me know where you studied and where you practice law, my man. He says, provoke humans. Empty says, the wrestler was trained in combat too. He should know. No, he wasn't. Well, I mean, he's trained as a combat operator, but his hand-to-hand combat skills are not quite up there, right? And I could vouch for that as somebody who has trained Marine Corps martial arts, right? And it would be even worse in the Army, which is the branch that he came from. So, and a wrestler was trained to, we're dangerous, man. Okay. G says, I train martial arts and not one time have I wanted to get into a fight. Yeah, because if you train enough, right, sometimes there's a part of you that, that's like, man, I'm tired, I'm sore from training, I don't want to do any of that. There's that, but then, you know, there's the other side of it too, where you just like chaos and violence, you know. I tend to, like to say that I am the latter of those things, so, you know what I mean? Watch yourself. No, I'm just kidding. But Empty says, you have never seen that side from your house, but in the world there are many. Yes. If anything, people would want to. Okay. If anything, people who would want to. Okay. Would want to avoid a fight. Okay. He didn't provoke a human. He provoked a silver hack gorilla. Okay. A little bit of a racial undertone there. There is only one God. Don't provoke any human. That shows you are a coward if you provoke a human and not gangsters. Yes, very true. Number one says, I'm for Philadelphia and I mainly practice bird law. What is that? Explain what bird law is. Shout outs to Philadelphia and shout outs to number one on that one, man. I'm glad to have some, real intellectuals here and very smart people. What college did you go to, number one? I went to Sac State University, so... lawyer with a race comment. Well, listen, as long as he does his job, right? You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? If me or any of the homies catch a case or whatever and he can get us out of it, yeah, we're going to pay top dollar for our freedom. But yeah, Empty says, Army combat training. People really think they are tough they are really tough with that, but train wrestling for life and there is no comparison. Correct. Yes. That's another thing, right? A lot of military dudes think that they are all Tim Kennedy, but what they don't know is that before Tim Kennedy was in Special Forces, before he was even in basic training for basic Army, basic training, he was already an MMA fighter with a pro record. So Empty says he's not a lawyer as much as I'm not the king of the world. Well, we don't know who people are here, just like Fresh Melon Juice claims to be a CIA agent, right? So that's really all there is to it. All right, so I think we've hit the, what is it? Is that the 3-hour mark? Hold on. What would be considered the 3-hour mark? I guess if we go on for another 20 minutes, that would be considered the, mark. But, all right, so Sir Jacob Fitzgerald says, we would always have your back, Kyrie, even if you did something awful. We got your back, man. Shout outs to you on that one, man. Angelo Rivera says, I love this chat. Thank you, my man. Thank you. I'm honored to hear that, Sir Jacob Fitzgerald. By the way, what part of the world did you say you are from, Sir Jacob Fitzgerald? It sounds very British. Right? Sir, if you're called a sir, you're probably like a lord or probably like somebody who's very distinguished in, in elite British society. So yeah, let me know if you, match or fit that description. And Angelo Rivera says he loves this chat. Thank you, my man. I hope that you hit the like and subscribe button for this one. And I hope that you do continue to watch me on this channel and also help recommend me from other people. I am not a lord, haha, but I am from Wales. There you go. There it is. So you're from the British Isles. So I was right. Sir Jacobs Fitzgerald. I like that, man. Fitzgerald though, that is a very that's an Irish name from what I reckon, right? That's a very Irish name from what I reckon. Fresh Melon Juice says, I studied to Professor of Logic at the University of Science. All right, the 14-year-old, 300-pound CIA agent, as he proclaims. You know what I mean? A 14-year-old genius. Wow. He studied at the Professor of Logic at the University of Science. add to his resume. Man, you are a renaissance man, Fresh. You are. Yo, I've never laughed at anybody that I don't know who they look like, right? Like, usually if I laugh at someone, like, I have a face to their name, and I'm like, you know what, man, listen, this guy is, hilarious, and then there's a face, like Chris Rock, right? Chris Rock is one of the most funniest men on earth, and it's not so much that he has, like, these smart deliveries the way that Dave Chappelle or Joe Rogan has. It's just that the man has a funny face, like cornbread. There ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like he just has that, really, funny face to where it makes it a little bit easier for him to be funny. Yeah. Empty says, Melon Man, you are hilarious. I respect that part. Yeah, man, I'm very thankful for to have him as a, as a supporter of the channel, even though we don't always agree on things. But this is one of the things that I want to emphasize on this channel. We all don't have to agree on everything. We all don't got to be, homies or this, that, or the other, right? But we can share ideas, and when we get out of here, we can actually become better people than what we left ourselves to be. So, Human Bait says, your thoughts on Izzy versus Costa 2. I mean, it makes sense with Strickland's suspension. That's the fight to be made right now. Yeah, Izzy and Costa 2, I like that, right? Because they both fought in Abu Dhabi back in the pandemic, right? And now they're going back there as a co-main event or somebody that is in, in a main card situation. So I like it, man. I like it. Yeah, wow. The first real MMA question that you had in this whole entire thing right here. Narrative Combat says, I am a member of the Supreme Court. I am here to tell you that you do not understand the law. Well, then please care to elaborate for us, man, because obviously, I'm not a lawyer by trade. But you know what? Let me tell you what I am going for right now, okay? I'm not a lawyer. I'm a publicist, right? I do public relations and media communications, but you guys know what this is, right? This is sort of my next venture in life right here. So if you know what this is, you are tapped in to what I am talking about. So you guys know what this is right here. This is to help you with, the test for, getting your license for law. So I already have a bachelor's degree from Sac State. So the only thing that I need to do now is just pass the LSAT and then do 3 years in law school, which is fine. So yeah, so please explain to me what the law is on narrative combat. Empty, you gave a good side to think about. Thank you. Okay, so I thought Strickland got out of his suspension. No, he's got 6 months, my man. And that's not really much because that's the amount of time that people take to take a break anyway. So I thought, okay, so Empty says, hit the like button for being cool with each other, even if we don't all agree. Right, that's kind of what I encourage here, right? Mario De Leon says, LOL. Narrative Combat says, LSAT has a stranglehold on the prep material. LSAC has a strange hold on the prep materials for LSAT. Okay. Angelo Rivera says, being raised from a family of boxers on both sides of my family are fighters, are trained to be animals in the ring and human outside, but we got the 1%, the 1%ers. That's what I'm saying, right? Most combat athletes, they come from a rough background, and then some guys can, absolutely tame that, and then there are some guys that can't tame that for the life of them. So, yeah, man. Yeah, that is a fact, right? But there are guys out there that are just completely nuts to the core. So Strickland got 4.5 month, including anger management. Okay, so the 4.5, I'm assuming, is because this fight happened a couple of months ago, and as a result of that, I guess they're kind of, I guess sort of using this as as like a continuation from the time of when he committed the transgression. But okay. All right, so let's see. How long have we been going now? Man, we've been going for 2 hours and 45 minutes now. What do you say we do another like 15 minutes or so? What do you guys think? We do another 15 minutes or what? Yeah, I thought it got reduced. Yeah, maybe, you know, or maybe he got like a plea deal of some sort, right? Maybe that's sort of what happened here. So let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see here. So no, in 6 months without anger management. This has been my favorite part of the day. This has been my favorite part of the day. This stream. Gotcha, man. Shout outs to you, man. 15 minutes more for sure, man. We'll do another 15 minutes. All right. So you know what? I'll dedicate the last 15 minutes to. I got into, you know, a little bit of this online spat with this dude. Nah, I don't want to give him any clout. You know what? I'm gonna leave that as a, you know, as a private matter. But yeah. So pin it. He says pin it. So okay. Okay, so let's see here. Mulligan says anywhere but Cali would be at least be taken in question without even, okay, so anywhere in Cali you would be taken in question without the other party still being in the hospital, recovery, etc. He needs a father. Rampage is very cool human being, but he needs, okay. So have you been who have you been beefing with, Kyrie? Is everything okay? No, everything's good. It's just that, okay, so you know what? I'll just do it like this, right? I'll do it like this. So there's this white collar boxer in the United Kingdom, right? His name is Daniel Hamid, right? I didn't want to do this, but I'll do this anyway, right? So this guy, okay, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of some story right here, okay? So this guy right here, Daniel Hamid, okay, this is him right here, all right? White collar boxer. He is 1-3. Okay, this is one of these guys that, like, you know, he over promotes himself, right? Which is cool and this and that, but he's a young kid and doesn't really know a lot about, you know, expectations of things, right? So he, you know, he got done from boxing, retired with like 1-3 record, okay, with white collar boxing. And now he wants to go into YouTube because he sees that I'm doing well on YouTube. This is what he says, right? He says, hey, I just want to discuss my YouTube career is just part-time. It's not going to be a full-time thing. I'm just going to be a part-time. I only consider a full-time YouTube career if I blast some serious views on my channels. So in other words, he has some unexpected you know, expectations to this, right? I will only do it a full-time if I am the best at it. If I don't get enough views, and there's no point in me doing it at all. YouTube is just a backup plan because we all got to work, but you never know in the future. I might end up retiring social media. It really depends how far I go. Most of the successful people I know are the ones who got good views and especially have a good following. They've always had dreams which were delusional dreams, but it became a reality. Most of you should know famous actors and etc. had their struggles and their personal yada 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 with me a better chance than I am a fight. So he's basically saying he would make a better YouTuber than being a fighter. Okay, so a serious Rampage, not a troll. He was raised a lot by his mom, but Rampage, this is not because of Rampage. Daniel Hamid is the best MMA fighter level. This will be a hard one for you, Kyrie. He's trying to fight me in boxing. He's a boxer, my dude. So, okay, this is what I wrote. Okay, we went at it. This is what I wrote, okay? I wrote, you already revealed every idea you had. I think you're young-minded, and this post is indicative of that. You haven't made one video yet. So this guy's talking about being a YouTuber, doesn't even make one video yet, right? And you're already claiming to quit if it doesn't get any views. This means you won't get any views for a long time, and I could see you quit in a month. Doing combat sports YouTube requires attention to details on dates, and I personally don't think you have the discipline to keep up with evolving stories going on around the combat sports, let alone boxing. I told him your emotions don't match realistic ideas and what you can really do on YouTube. So then this is what he says, right? He says, I never said what ideas and what I will make the videos on. Look, you're a good guy, but you yourself need to blast some serious views on YouTube. Okay, blast some serious views on YouTube. How about this? This is what this is what I got in this right now. So he says I need to blast some views on YouTube. Sure. Okay, I have 1,000 subscribers. I have this many views. So, all right, whatever. But, you know, to each its own and what they think success is. Okay, so I think something creative ideas, if it doesn't get any views, is not meant to be. Nobody calls themselves a YouTuber sitting on less views. God has blessed us all with a certain amount of skills. I will try best to refute this and be a fan of people. Use your brain. Maybe you'll go far in your YouTube career. Try making money, but instead you are watching others make money. So what an idiot, right? So this is what I wrote. I know what I make on YouTube and what's indicative of the ads you see on my videos. If you can't get your videos to push ads, don't even talk to me about ideas. You're not even a beginner. You're not even in a game. Ain't nobody pocket watching you, cuz. Are you deluded on this? You're the only one putting this out there, and I'm actually giving you advice regardless of how harsh it may be. Then I said, your comments alone show you're going to quit based on your views of expectations. Now, I told him, I think you're a talented young lad. All I'm trying to say is that you don't know what to do or how to manage it. That's for you to figure out, but I guarantee you won't have a video by September. Then you will procrastinate further from October to December and extend it by 2027. Stop talking to me. Stop talking about me. I already know the business behind what I got going on. You have nothing going on because you don't know how to pull the trigger. These are harsh facts that cut deep into your illusions of expectations. So he says you continue to sit at 200 views a day with no money. By the way, did he... I'm not even going to go there with money. Okay, people who do YouTube, as long as you have banged out 2K views per video. Okay, let's refute that. Okay, that's close to 2K. Let's take a look at my other videos. Okay, the most popular videos that I had. So let's see. How about this? So he's saying that 14K, 13K, 12K, 10K, 9.5K, 9.1, 8.1. How many more than you know, K videos that I have here? Look at this. So, all right, refuted, well refuted. Okay, so Angelo says, life is short. We got to love each other. Sometimes you disagree, but no man is invisible. If you have anything about being hit in the head over times, memory receptors can go. Yes. Clap for taking the chance. Okay, shout out to you. So, so I said, okay, he says that I'm lucky that he's even responding to me. What a delusional idiot. I said, the point I'm making is that you're reverting back to me when I already have a situation going on. Meanwhile, you don't have any situation going on. is not only wild, but also says a lot about your character, which is the following. The minute you decide to not try something, you criticize those that do. The minute that goes wrong, you quit and refuse to take responsibility. Okay, so take responsibility for your own life, Daniel, and stop inflating the reality of what you don't have. You can't even get a ride to your own fight. Bro, this is a guy who backed out on a fight because he couldn't get a ride for his fight, and he's talking to me about money, bro. This is wild to me. Okay, so I said, okay, make a video by September, otherwise shut up about fighting. You won't make a video because you realize you will fail because you don't have the discipline or the understanding of algorithm on how to build a channel. Daniel Hamid says your own petty insults. This is what I said to Daniel. Your own petty insults indicates you don't understand how monetizing works. You're a wannabe elitist who hangs on the examples of the best possible outcome, but you can't even do the bare minimum of getting paid first. That's how I know you will quit unless you get help. Daniel says, bro, all you do is make videos about other people, especially you talk about other professional athletes with no money. Build yourself up of building other people who care less about you and who would read your YouTube. I can do what you do and make videos on others if you invest in yourself and create your own story to grow. Most of your videos are talking about others. You're a fan creator, this and that. So basically, yeah, you know, the whole classic, you talk about other people. This is what I wrote. I'm a private person who's already had more accomplishments than you in life. I'm a news content, and I don't have to reveal my private life to others. You have no following, and quite frankly, that's why you can't monetize your story of getting a ride to your own fight. And if I had to do it for you, I had to do it for you because you don't move fast enough. So what I'm talking about is the Tom Aspinall video that I had made. Okay, let me show you who he is because I made a video about him for my Tom Aspinall video. This is when he got left after when his buddy basically, you know, didn't give him a ride to his fight. What he had mentioned, and I'm going to react to it, had sold all the tickets. His opponent wasn't really tripping about him not selling the tickets or not having the time to sell the tickets. I'm not really sure which one. But yeah, he's basically explaining and apologizing to his opponent, but also explaining, by the way, a story that, if taken by face value, I think you should really, yeah, man, I think that you should really take this story into consideration about what kind of resource prop. Angelo Rivera says, let's remember everything takes patience in life. Yes. Marty Miller says, why does the name sound familiar? Has he been in here before Fresh? No, he hasn't. Problems a lot of fighters have. And also, I think he mentions here also the higher costs of living nowadays, which I think is so in other words, this guy backed out on a fight because he's a bum who couldn't get a ride to his own fight. Interesting point, but a reality that we can't ignore.
Yes, I'll be honest with you. Yesterday, I looked like a dickhead, and that's the honest truth.
I look like a dickhead, and that's the honest truth. Yeah, you're a dickhead because you wanted a man to take you to a fight of which you had no money for petroleum, lad. So, okay, anyways.
They made me look like a dickhead, but respect the £100 they had me. They did a good job against me. I respect what Tillerson does. He does a lot for his youngsters, and I wanted to help me. Like, he don't owe me nothing. He put me in his show, and who am I that he owes something? Cheat Hazim, he does not owe me anything. Who am I that he owes something? He's doing it in the goodness of his heart. He's trying to create a legacy, and he's trying to help me. I would never win my fight. That's not who I am. I had 3 fights. I always show up. Whatever fight I have, I always show up. Yesterday.
Yeah, speaking of rig, right? A lot of people who don't train or are not in the sport of box. Okay, so basically I just explained about why he missed his fight, and I played a video of him reacting to it, so I respect you for taking a chance. What do you mean by that? Let me know what you mean by that, taking a chance, my man. So, So I wrote, okay, so I do make money off of YouTube. Let's see if you can do it by the end of 2025. You're a young kid, and maybe it's not fair to compare accomplishments with you because you're just starting, but I can really tell you hesitate and count on your eggs before they hatch. Prediction, Daniel makes no videos in 2025. Prove me wrong. I want you to prove me wrong because I actually want to watch your stuff. Really, he's entertaining, but, you know, we'll see if he can do it. But I'm just one person. Let's see if you can get 1,000K subs in 2 months. Daniel says, my friend's car broke down the last minute, so I ended up getting stuck in Peterborough. Anyways, go to sleep. Won't reply with you from now on. Won't reply with you. You had your 5 minutes. Making excuses. Haven't made anything from YouTube. Listen to your, listen, you're a good guy, and I have nothing against you. Just retire from YouTube or just up your game to YouTube and create new ideas and tell no one and good luck. So he's basically telling me to tell no one this, that, and the other, but then he goes and does the same thing. And I said, YouTube is not my #1 income. I have a life outside of the internet. You're a classic case of internet success. You have internet success, but my real life says I can drive myself and others to their fight if need be. You can't, and that's wild you're talking to me about money. So imagine a guy who can't even bring himself to his fight because he can't pay his friend for petroleum, you know, or gas, as they call it in the UK, is talking to me about money, okay? So I said, get your money first before you think about YouTube. Imagine a fight relied upon somebody else who's not your opponent. This is your problem. This is why you deflect reality away from yourself and talk about my situation when I'm way ahead of what you're trying to do. And then I said, your homie's car didn't break down. I have the video, and you said word for word otherwise. So that's the video that I was talking about, right? John, he doesn't have money. He wasn't raised rich. He's a spoiled rich man child who never worked a day in his life. Something is wrong with him. Says attacked his own father before Rampage guillotined him to sleep. He definitely went too far, but people keep saying psycho. But concussions, yeah, regulate emotions. Yeah, that's true. So, all right, let's go back to, let's see here. He says, love you lots, only in Islam is Ahmadiyya, love for, no, okay, so this guy's an Ahmadiyya. Okay, that's irrelevant. So this is what he wrote to me in private, okay? This is what Daniel wrote to me in private. And I'm going to call him live right now too, okay? So this is what he wrote. Okay, listen, let's fight in America, and I will only travel if my costs are covered. I ain't paying for shit. Get a promoter from America to contact me, but don't think you have people. You say you're a private person, but yet you live stream your videos, your box videos, especially your house. Stop waffling unless you're able to cover my costs, etc. for me to travel to America. I ain't interested in covering my costs. So this guy's asking me to fight him while asking me to fly him to America. I mean, how insane is that? He's asking me to fight him, but he says I won't do it unless, you know, and then he says, let's have a boxing fight in amateur. So he wants to do it in headgear. Right? I'm like, all right, I'll bring one person with me from Peterborough, and that's my trainer. Other than that, you ain't getting any reply from me. This is my last one. Don't just sit on social media. I help run a business, cover my costs, and I'm there. So what do you guys think? Not a boxing fight. I'd rather do it in an MMA fight. He's not going to fight me in MMA. It's going to be boxing. What do you guys think? Should I hit him up right now or what? Hit him up? You should respond that way. Boring ass stream, Blum says. Well, it definitely wasn't boring earlier, so I'm just using this last minute to kind of, let me call this guy right here. what is that emoji right there? Wait, hold on. What is that emoji right there? What is this? Yeah, nothing. Hit him up. I did. You know, he's not picking up. So I don't. So okay, how weird is this, right? So I insulted this man's manhood. Well, I didn't really insult his manhood. I mean, if anything, you know, the only thing that we really got into it is the fact that I don't think he has a work ethic to be, you know, a YouTuber. And quite frankly, you know, I sort of like, you know, destroyed all those notions of, you know, his reality and whatnot. So he doesn't like it, right? He's saying that he's going to make these videos or this and that, but he ain't doing any of that. So, you know what? I'm gonna just call him again right now and see if he, you know, see if he picks up. I'm gonna harass this dude until he picks up. Nothing. I'm telling him to pick up his phone. If he says he will do an MMA fight, I will cover his flight costs, but he won't accept. Yeah, he's not going to accept an MMA fight. I don't think he'll even accept a boxing fight, to be quite honest with you. Look, do you understand? I could fly to England if I wanted, right? Like, I could fly to England if I wanted, like, to make that much easier. He's asking me to pay for his ticket to come to America, okay, and then at the same time, you know, but then he says he wants to do it in an amateur event, which means we have to wear headgear. Now, why would I want to do that, right? The only time I fought in headgear was amateur Muay Thai, and yeah, so I mean, it's but whatever he wants out of that. He says, I don't think burning a flag should be against the law. It's wrong. Okay, he's not going to answer the phone unless he can be the best at it. Yeah, right. Like, how weird is a dude, right? Really weird dude. You know, to say the least. But yeah, man. On any regard, I'm gonna try him again, bro. Okay, let's start with the audio instead. Maybe he doesn't want to get on. Maybe he doesn't want to get on video, so we'll just try audio instead. All right, well, absolutely nothing. By the way, listen, for those of you that are wondering, he's, well, let me just say it like this, right? He's one of Zayn Musa Boxing Dosage's ops in the UK. So if you're wondering where this beef stems from, it's sort of from that. So, all right, guys, I think that is all that I have for you guys right now. I'll give you guys some more updates on this particular matter. I mean, I just wanted to just make this into a little bit of a bonus track, but on any regard, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, inshallah.